Good evening and welcome to Flat Earth United. Joining me shortly will be Jibby Jedi. If you're new to this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to be updated with all the latest interviews, panel shows and video logs from Nathan Oakley 1980. This stream will be a behind the scenes stream, so possibly a bit of a slow start with this one, but its main purpose is to serve as a bit of a rolling advert for the show, which I will shortly cut to photographs and start sharing with all and sundry. I may as well actually share the link with my guest first while I'm chattering away, more importantly than anything else. So let's just pop Jibby's name in here. But yes, the other reason for running the show like this is there is often find it from that Jibby. It's all one word, isn't it? J-E. Okay. No, it's not going to find it that way. I'll share it a different way. But there's often conversations at the beginnings of these shows, and indeed at the ends of these shows, that are just missed by the audience. So when you start up an OBS feed, it tends to have a much more limited audience than a Google Plus feed. So as soon as I click the start button on the Google Plus feed, the chances are it'll get a reasonable audience. But in comparative tests, it certainly seems to be the case that G Plus does better than OBS. So my intention is to have some of those, those rare little nuggets of conversations that you don't get when the little live button or on-air button on Google Plus is actually running. So I'm going to transition across to my photos and share this link. I'll pop myself on link. There will be a bit of dead air, but that's entirely the point, so you will get to see Jibby as and when he arrives, and you'll get to see the conversation ensue very naturally, hopefully. So yeah, excuse me for a few moments while I check everything's working and share the G Plus feed. That's something I might as well add here. If you're going to share the feed, you may as well share the G Plus feed, because that tends to get the better audience. And so I will do that now. Won't bother muting. Here. What's the point in muting? So on this stream, you do actually see things like, where's it gone? Oh, the button for links a second ago. The link that I'm sharing, as I say, is the G Plus sharing link, not the OBS link. But of course, feel free to share this stream for the next half an hour or so before Jibby arrives, if you wish to do so. So many potato-themed Skype groups sharing it in. What's this one? Potatoes Assemble. Potatoes remain unmashed, although many come at them armed with mashers. That's another Skype group. Let's stick the link in there. I'm pretty sure Patricia and Martin are currently on Sun and Moon group. So that's possibly a bit more interesting than me sharing out a link for a show that hasn't started yet. Or maybe not. Who knows? Stuck this in a few places. Atom Bomb Chat, stick it in there as well. I played the advert for Jibby just because got a good feedback from people who watched it. Let's see if I can develop. Yeah. Sound good to go. Yeah, very handy, as it showed that my mic was feeding back. So I've now sent Jibby Jedi the link via G+. Hopefully he'll join us shortly. Check that the stream is running. Photos. People in the chat. Should be a bit more chatty, really, as there's actually people watching. When I started off the live stream for OBS, let's just transition again. When I started off the stream for OBS, there was a little banner in the live chat feed for the like pop-out chat that I get that I can monitor the feed on, and it said that there was like a new YouTube filter that they can put on to say, you know, you can decide whether or not stuff gets viewed. I'm going to turn it off because I probably, you know, if I don't keep up with the chat and there's various stuff being filtered out, because I noticed that Be Here and Love had just said, or Zoe Scribner had just said, clap, 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 and then it came up as, do you actually want to say this? So I don't know if somebody in the chat wants to try swearing, see if it gets moderated out. I'll say hello to a few of you, see who we've got in there. Obviously Be Here and Love, good to see you. Dangerous D, former guest, how you doing? Good to see you. Martin, aren't you on the Sun and Moon group? Martin is in my chat and on the Sun and Moon group as a guest. Very interesting. The real Quasi-Luminous. I bet that's not the real Quasi-Luminous. Good to have you all here. Can you hear me? And this is the very point of this, checking that everything works before I do the main show and hit start broadcast. So I don't know, so many other people get away with having a show with nothing going on at the beginning. I'll split mine into two though, so there won't actually be a tedious show. Once Jibby gets here, I will start the main feed. Hey Mark, how you doing? Good to see you. I could display the chat, couldn't I? Let's see. Okay, bit of chat. Not really lined up that nicely. Let's just sort that out. Okay, that's better. Got to be fussy. I don't know, I like OBS to look sharp. There's people in the audience going, it doesn't look sharp, it looks rubbish. Chat that I can read. I'm coming back as the real me. Let me guess, it's David Quintana that is actually the real Quasi-Luminous. We shall see. Flat Out Elected, good to see you. Seen lots of your streams recently. Ute, am I blocked on my real one? I don't think so. I'm blocked on my real one. Oh, I misread that. Oh well, you can chat on Ute instead of YouTube. Nobody should be blocked. I've unblocked everybody as far as I was aware. Try again. Waiting to see Jibby Jedi appear in the chat so I can say, oi, check your G+ feed. You've had a link. Told him 11, so he's got a good quarter of an hour. Hey, Spiritual North, good to see you. Lucifer Tim, good to see you. Says sup. Martin Lietka, oi oi. Baba, who's Baba? Franquez, how are you saying that? FR frequencies. Sorry, it's 3 foot away the screen. Frequencies illuminated. Good to have you here. Where's JLB? I think he's on a 3-month break. Had enough of YouTube. Not thrown in the towel, but on a break. Ray, good to see you. Says Rocky Horror Nathan. No idea what you're talking about. Angel Hoosier Nook. Hello to you too. Everybody. I'm just moderating the chats, listening to music. Fair enough. Mods take liberties. They do take liberties. And no mods anymore. 2 streams, no mods. So if you don't like one of the streams, if you don't like one of the chat rooms, just go to the other one. Headlines debunked. Good to see you. Former guest. Your show's doing pretty well. It's only been up about 3 or 4 days. It's had almost 900 views, I think. More, because there's 2 streams. Technically speaking, you'd combine the total, because they're both the same. Just one's got a bit of preamble and after show. But, you know, they both got the show on it, so if you've watched one feed or the other feed, they've both got the show. So I would combine those viewing figures and say that, you know, overall Headlines Debunked shows had, I don't know, 1,300 odd views. That's pretty good. John Watson says, my main account is blocked also. Couldn't give a shit. Not going to do a damn thing about it. You can chat with that account. Or you can bugger off. No. Please like, share, subscribe. Trollcast Team 6 or whatever are on their way. Excellent. Hope they all have fun watching. Might transition off the chat now. So just get my photographs. Vulgar said in the chat. Wouldn't want that. Wouldn't want that at all. 10 to 11. I'd hope Jibby would be here by now. May not get much of a pre-show with Jibby. The other reason, of course, for doing this is that he may not show up at all. In which case, at least I get to do a stream, even if my guest doesn't show up. What we've got on screen now is one of the, let me get it right, I think it was 4 frames of the rescuers with a topless woman in one window. So it's above them in this frame, and I think in the previous frame it was below them as they're descending between buildings on this albatross. Yeah, subliminal messages, you gotta love them. I've shared that still with a few people, and I say, what do you see? And they very rarely say a naked woman. I have to point it out, even when it's so glaring, it's like on screen, because your mind's focused on the mouse. Go back to the chat. I've not spoken to Jibby one-to-one before. Should be an interesting show. As always, I've not got any scripted questions for him, but every time I've seen Jibby Jedi slaying everybody out, what would you call them? Outside of flat Earth, globe heads. There's the one. You know, he's really good. He knows his stuff. And I was criticised on the last show, which was talking about shills, meaning the fake numbers. So in the same way as you've got fake people around the Find the Lady game that are paid, people pay to have people surrounding their channel, and same with the view counts. But apparently not flat earthy enough. But there we go. My point was that it sacrifices credibility, and if you're in a truth arena, i.e. flat earth, you need credibility. It's important. Some people disagreed, which is always good. One of the guests strongly disagreed, which was Hoary Sheet Show. Said, I just want my stuff to be seen. And I said, well, that's all well and good until somebody comes along and says, this guy's a fraud. Here we go. They're not really people watching. These numbers are fake. There we go. Ace McLeod, good to see you. Think for yourselves. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Yes, indeed. Alex Jonestown Massacre. Good to have you here. Spiritual North, hello.
I think.
Hey,
Can
looks
you
like
hear
we've got
me?
Jibby
Can you
Jedi.
try?
How you doing? Oh, no. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. Time for photos. Momentarily, we will be joined by Jibby Jedi. There will be maybe 5 or 10 minutes of us messing around with sound and cameras. And in this case, links. Here we go! Hooray! How you doing?
All right. Is it working now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you and see you. Looking
All right. Good.
glorious.
Good. Good. I just had a little run-in with a virus, so I had to use another browser,
Looking
and
very
so
cool.
I had to go through the plugins, reinstalling, and all that fun stuff.
Oh,
Isn't
no
that
way.
fun?
That doesn't sound like much fun.
No, no. So I couldn't use my normal browser. Let me see if I can get the camera right here. Am I gonna? Do I have enough light? Do you think?
Not
I
at
can
all.
probably turn on another light.
No, but it doesn't matter. I'm just glad you're on camera.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna turn on another light because this
Look
camera.
dark and mysterious.
We could do dark and mysterious. That's true. There we go. That's much more light. Maybe now it's too much.
No, definitely not too much. But better.
Are we on the backstage?
Yeah, we're broadcasting. I should have said that first, really. So we're
Oh,
going out to
I read your
a
message,
limited
so.
audience. Let's see. I don't know. Probably 10 or 15 people. Can't quite see from here. Tell me on the... Why doesn't it tell me on OBS how many people are watching? That's a bit rubbish. I don't know how many are watching. Not very many, I wouldn't have thought. Half a dozen.
Flat Earth United Jibby. Okay, there we go. There's the watch page. And all right. Excellent. We already got 23 thumbs down.
Awesome. Again, couldn't give a toss. Doesn't matter. Unimportant.
I should probably give it a thumbs down. So we're in backwards world here. No, I already thumbs it up.
IPS does that, doesn't he? I mean, some days I think that it does make a massive difference because if I get like 15 thumbs up and 1 thumb down, there's a good chance it'll go to the home pages. As long as it's being viewed, i.e. gathering reasonable momentum.
They say that if it's a 90% thumbs up ratio, it tends to get bumped up more for the search aspect of Google.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what they
down,
say, but yet I see them turned up all the time. Little warm in here. I think I can take my little roby off.
Straight out of Photoshop.
How widespread this kind of shirt is, but this is a good one. It's subtle.
Subtle, very.
Yeah, it's subtle. I don't have to mention anything about it. I can just wear it. And somebody says, "Oh, whoa, do you have a spare 2 hours? We can talk about it."
You haven't got a condensed version that you give them in 30 seconds then?
That would be nice. Like ODD's Flat Earth in 5 minutes and such. That would be
I like
nice.
Flat Earth in 5 minutes. I share that video a huge amount.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
I
recommend it a lot. We have it on our Flat Earth New England channel, I think.
Flat Earth New England? What's that?
Yeah. That's a little group. That's I basically joined it. We're this little local Flat Earth group, but we encompass, 6 states? The New England states. And we've been basically meeting in the heart of New England, which is like the Boston area. And we're slowly kind of doubling our numbers each time. And we just got the attention of the Boston Globe, who just talked to Mark Sargent. He just broadcasted, I think, last night, his conversation with the Boston Globe reporter. So we might actually get a positive Flat Earth media write-up for the first time in maybe 100 years, where it's not a hit piece, hopefully. And how ironic, the Boston Globe doing a piece on Flat Earth.
No, the irony is delicious. I love it. I mean,
yeah.
Can you imagine? You can think back 12 months ago, though, when people were saying, "You're not getting enough mainstream publicity," blah, blah, blah. Now this, awesome.
Yeah, is there a specific amount of mainstream publicity that we're supposed to be having? A set amount?
No, to me, it seems to be consistently growing at a rate. You know, it's accelerating like a snowball rolling down a hill, and that's how it should be. You know, it's not exponentially growing, but by the same token, it's still getting better. You know, there's still more people looking into the subject. There's new commenters that come to my videos every single day. So I don't know. I see it as definitely growing. You know, it might not be whatever the JLB piss take that he uses, whatever he says. I'm sure he's trying to quote Dearth out of context when he says 0 to 1,000,000 overnight or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. Here we go. So this, I'm going to drag this across just to show the audience as we're on the behind the scenes bit. So, oh. Okay, it's just snapped it to the middle of my page. How do I get it back? Ah! What? God, I don't like Windows 10. It does all sorts of crazy things. Right, let's try that again. So you can probably see that. So Dawn Treader UK has said, another fucking liar. So yeah. And I get to choose whether or not to show it.
I'm not another liar, probably one of the first.
It's like moderation without having to moderate. You know, I don't have to do a thing, and that will just get hidden. I'm going to show it now in the feed just so afterwards people can tell me what
I saw that new feature, moderating, hide or show.
Awesome.
Seems to be new.
Don't need moderators. It's like, you know, anybody who puts any crap in. Ideally, I don't know if you agree with this, but this is how I wanted moderation to be. But you can't control people, you know, you can't make them not ban people. But the ideal was, if somebody says something like that, you delete their comment. Yeah, that's step one. If they do it again, you tell them off and say, can you stop doing that? And if they continue to do it a third time, then they get timed out. You know, and if they do it when they come back, they get timed out again. But I probably wouldn't ban them. I'd just repeatedly time them out so that they couldn't say anything. And I think automatically there, for that stream, if you get so many timeouts, they are just automatically hidden anyway. So, but it means that they can still come back to the next show, hopefully to behave themselves. But that's unlikely.
No, and if you ban them, here comes the legion of their sock accounts, which in a way kind of helps because each time they use a new sock account, there goes your view count, goes up a little bit. So brings a little bit more attention. It seems to be, rapid fire hits now. You want to give 50 thumbs down. Well, that's 50 more views. If you think of it that way, I don't know. I try to look at the positive. I have fun with them sometimes. I really do. There are some who I think are almost necessary because sometimes we get a little lackadaisical with our proofs, and they're there to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's. Like, well, did you know that that's not perfectly flat? Like I was having this little talk with one yesterday or the day before, who was correcting my flat level bridge that I was doing an experiment on, and said, well, according to this altitude, you're off by 6 inches here, 8 inches there. And I'm like, yeah, it's a little bit of a, it's like, okay, I didn't see it. That's a good kind of critiquing, but it you know, that's what we need. We need that kind of thing. So some trolls are actually seriously trying to polish us up, which is a good thing. Some are just in it for the art of trolling.
Certain, and we know exactly which ones those are.
Yeah,
we've got about 2-3 minutes before I'm going to start the main show, so I'm going to check my wife's okay, make sure everything's off that shouldn't be on. If you need to nip to the bathroom or anything, now's your chance, and then we'll actually start the show proper, and I'll give you a proper introduction. So yeah, I'll be right back. I'll just put myself on mute.
All right, sounds good. Shout out to you guys in the chat. Let's see, I'll start at the bottom up. John Watson, Rebel. Ace McLeod, Dawn, Flat Earth. Ooh, I thought that was Flat Earth After Party. That's another one. Dan, Subgenius, Subgenius. Zoe. Let's see. Wow, there's so many socks in here. Gem Panda. Twitwit. Frequencies illuminated. I've been seeing you a lot lately. Monique, how are you? Let's see. Okay, let's just make them a little shout outs to the chat.
Right. Should ask you this. I don't care that we're live. I'm going to ask you anyway. Is there anything you particularly don't want me to talk about or ask? I don't know. You can send it me on G+ if that's the case and just say no here.
Oh, man, I really can't think of anything I particularly care for censorship about. Like everything on the table, anything and everything.
Fair enough. Okay. If you can pop yourself on mute for about 30 seconds, I'm going to introduce you on the main show. But before I do that, I'm going to just tweet it and stick it on Facebook. Live. Oh. Live. Now. And I'll tweet it as well. Tweet. And I'll G+ it as well, why not? Live. Now. Done. Right, I'm going to start. We'll go live in about 10 seconds. Good evening and welcome to Flat Earth United with me, Nathan Oakley, and joining me this evening is Jibby Jedi. How you doing, Jibby?
Very well, very well. How are you doing, Nathan?
I'm not too bad at all. If you're new to this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you can get updated with the latest videos and interviews. That being said, how do you find yourself, Jibby, in the arena of Flat Earth?
A very busy soldier. getting more busy as time goes by, but that's a good thing because that's what we want, I think, is to get busy to, well, for me in my aspect, I want to get this out there as quick as possible. And it was slow going at first, but we're really picking up momentum now, and I like being very busy with this, like constructive busy, and I appreciate like the chance to be a part of it. I think this is a very important time of our lives, very important truth, very important revelation. And I'm honored. I feel very honored to be a part of it in any way I can be.
Well, how did you find out the Earth is flat?
This weird guy named Mark Sargent. I was researching into Saturn at the time. This is probably late 2014, kind of following Quasi-Luminous. And he was big into the Saturn research then, and it was a little group of us researchers on the forums hitting Saturn pretty hard. So my YouTube was on autoplay. So I'm writing down some notes here and drawing some diagrams of the hexagon pole of Saturn and whatnot. And then I hear, hi, this is a series of clues about the flat Earth. And I just hear Mark's intro, and I slowly just picked my head up. What? Flat Earth? Like... And I just left it, and I listened to the whole thing. You know, that look on somebody's face when you're talking to people, you'll have the smiles, the laughs, the jokes, and then that one guy who's just taking it in. He's just quiet. He's listening. Eye contact was me. I was taking it all in. And after the first clue, I had to click on another one, and then I clicked on another one, and jaw dropped. Just it's never occurred to me. I was big into astronomy. I studied astronomy all the time for fun. So that was something that never even occurred. I thought flat earther was an insult. Like, you know, I didn't think it was real. So that was it. It sent me on my way, Mr. Mark Sargent.
Interesting way of putting it. You say flat earth is an insult because now, what for you, probably 2.5 years into this, you know exactly why that's so very, very true. You know, flat earth is an insult, and for very good reason.
Yeah, and I didn't even know there were real people who I thought it was just a religious cult, flat Earth Society group, very secular thing. That's all I thought it was. The existence of it. I didn't even know it was real people. Like, come on, man, like for real. But there are so many anomalies in astronomy that you come across when you're dabbling in astronomy that NASA never gives you a good answer for. And how do you know, like, who to turn to after that? So we turn to the amateur astronomer community. We all talk amongst each other, and there's the fanboys, and there's the people who color outside the lines. So who do you follow? And my kitty cat. And I always call it outside the lines. I said, well, this doesn't make sense. Why does the planet look a little oblong here? You know, it looked very strange. Or just, why can't I get a sharp resolution on stars? Things like that didn't make sense. But as soon as I heard dome, things started to click. Like, you know what? Something that kind of makes sense to explain a lot of the anomalies I see up there. And I went from there. And my first videos were 2015, which I had pulled down because they were getting a little too much attention too fast. And back then, say June 2015, there was only a handful of people talking flat Earth on YouTube, and it was a barrage of the hate army coming at you. And if you even answered one positive thing on a flat Earth video, you were responding to that for a year because you said something positive. So everybody was attacking the positive comments, and to be the author of the video, you were just taking heat constantly. And I got a little nervous and I backed off a little bit and pulled my videos down, but I was duplicating things. I had a clear pane of glass with a blue sky, take a flashlight, and now I was mimicking the moon, of what we see of it. Like, here's the moon. Like, you couldn't really tell it was the moon or my flashlight because it was the blue sky background and it was a clear glass. Then I'd take my finger and I would kind of occult the light, and I was causing the moon phases exactly the way we see them. And then I would take my moonlight, it's a little moon flashlight, at night, and I would go up and down my barn on the clapboard. Now I'm duplicating the lunar wave. And little things like that I was just duplicating, showing how it could be done with glass, with a reflection of the moon off glass. And it's got like 1,500 views in a few days. And I was like, oh, now it's getting too hot in here. And I backed off a little, and then I started to just do things in the background. So I wasn't like what do they call it?
In the background, but
flat Earth
I've seen so much stuff from you that it's just you're not in the background. You know, I see you debating people like Charles, and that's not in the background.
Oh, well, that was 2015. I wanted to spend 2015 in the background because I wanted to see the lay of the land before I stepped out kind of in the open with my face out there, because it was just my voice out there mostly, not my face. I didn't know if I was ready for that kind of commitment yet, and ready for that kind of battle that comes to you once you're now public, like with it. Like, yes, I admit I'm a flat earther. Yes, I know it's flat. I don't believe it's flat. That's what I say now. I said, they say, do you believe the Earth's flat? I said, absolutely not. I know it is. So I'm much more confident. But it took me 7 months of fighting that title. As soon as I said, have you guys seen Flat Earth Clues? Have you seen Matt Powerland? Have you seen these things at Eric Dubay? And they'd say, well, you're Flat Earth Theory and you are a Flat Earth. And I'm like, whoa. I'm just researching Flat Earth. Don't call me that. And I was taking offense to it. I'm like, I'm just researching this. I'm not a Flat Earther. And I fought that for 7 months. But in 7 months of intensive research, a buddy of mine who was an attorney and going through this just like I was, he finally just accepted the title. He's like, you know what? After everything I've looked at, I'm a flat earther. And he inspired me to take that same step where I was, you know what? I think I'm confident enough to nail that down now, plant the flag. I am a flat earther, and I'm not going back. I'm not going over the fence, not fence jumping. It took me 7 months to make that conclusion of neutral information. That's it. I'm a flat earther. And I've been there ever since, and never wavered, never even twitched back to the ball, because I haven't seen anything. There's so much missing. That's just not going to show up. We're not going to see 1 million, 2 million, 5 million videos and photos of curvature and all these things just show up out of nowhere. They're not there. They're not going to be there. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
That's my opinion.
even the trolls, they're discussing the really finite details of obscurity when it comes to curvature, and most of it is actually based in the sky. They're talking about star trails. I mean, you're a fan of looking up in the night sky with a telescope. Me too. You know, it's not a shock. Most of the things that are presented to flat earthers in general are new because they're not looking up in the sky. But for me, I was. I mean, I don't know about your personal experience with the plane itself. Are you reasonably well travelled? Have you got around and about on the flat plane?
I have in my country, and I've been to Canada, but I've flown back and forth across the United States, back, forth, up, down. I've seen the country from the air several times. Excuse me. So I have a basic gist of what I was seeing out the window. I loved the window seat when I was on a plane. It's just, if I can get a window seat, I will. I'll buy my tickets early because I just stared out the window, my headphones on the whole time, just fascinated. Never wasn't looking for curvature. Wasn't just never occurred to me back then, pre-flat Earth. But I go back now and I remember there was not a lick of curvature out there. It's just the same thing that we see on all the videos. It was amazing. Just until it's brought to your attention, you're just not looking for it.
Yeah, what's the B.O.B. the rapper when he had that picture? I forget where it was, but he had two cities behind him, and he was saying, well, there's supposed to be XYZ amount of curve between these two cities. Well, where is it? And they had, I think it was even Neil deGrasse Tyson misrepresenting the argument and, you know, just playing off curve maths rather than addressing the fact that there was no curvature between these two cities. But yeah, as you say, when you're looking out a plane window, what you see beneath you is a flat plane. There's no two ways about that. And it's conceded on both sides. You know, there won't be an intellectually honest globehead out there that would say, oh yeah, you go up 30,000 feet, of course you can see curvature. Nah, you can't. You just can't get high enough on the globe. So therefore, it's conceded on both sides. What you see from an airplane window is a flat plane. Their argument or their workaround would be that you're just too small. You're like a bacteria on a basketball. You're never going to see any curvature. You're physically too small. But what we would say is, no, it looks flat because it is flat, and you've got maths that dictate how curvy it should be based on your 24,000 circumference equator. Unfortunately, we ain't seeing it. What we see is flatness.
That's what we see, and they'll say, well, then you need to do this, that, and the other. And I've listened to everything they've said. I've listened to as many debunkers as I could because I wanted somebody intelligent. I didn't want to talk to a student. I wanted to talk to the teacher. With our group, Flat Earth New England, and there's also like Flat Earth Framingham, which is basically NASALies.org group, Brother Ernest and such, who has the best signs, the best flat earth signage I've ever seen. Very well made, and he's been building this set of signs for a while. It's a stack of them. Like, carry them in and everything, and oh, it's such good fun. And he's passionate, and all of the Flat Earth New England people are passionate. And so I was discussing with him when he joined Flat Earth New England. I said, we want to start hitting Harvard and MIT. He's like, oh, I've been hitting those regularly. I said, really? I was like, we need to do it as a group. He's like, yeah, we could. He's like, I stand out here this week and do it weekly. And sure enough, he does. And I joined him last weekend, I think it was. Yeah, last weekend I joined him. And we had a great time. It was some of us from Flat Earth New England and his Flat Earth Framingham group. And we hit Harvard Square in a spot in front of a 24-hour CVS that he kind of has locked down. He's figured out the legal way to do it, to set up signs where it's legal.
What do you mean by hitting it, though? You mean you literally go to the square with signage?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And he does it in a way. What
sort of reactions you're getting from MIT students? I mean,
well, even better, we had a group of Oxford students come walk by the other day. Like, that's not something you see every day there. Oxford. So, you know, unless we'll have to travel overseas to talk to the Oxford kids, they came to us. So everybody was engaged with other people. And then here come this group of Oxford kids, you know, young bucks or whatever. And I go, oh, I'm not missing this opportunity. So I was listening to them. They were making some creation jokes and comments and things like that. So I wasn't letting them walk away. So I picked a fight with them basically. Or, oh yeah, you think you're a monkey? You live on a spinning ball, and that started like a 1 hour engagement back and forth with all of us. And it was fantastic. I had the video up on my channel, and it was great. It was going viral on Brother Ernest. He broadcasts live on Facebook when he does it, and he usually does these sometimes both Friday and Saturday at Harvard Square or at MIT. He'll broadcast it live on his Facebook, other Facebook Flat Earth groups, then simulcast his live broadcast. We went viral last time, probably 10,000 views in the first night. And it was that kind of debate with left brain versus right brain, and for me, I don't have, a doctorate or anything. I don't have a double bachelor's. Like, I shouldn't be able to go face to face with these people according to everything we've been told. These people, I shouldn't be any match for these people, but we hold our own. We hold our own with Harvard, MIT. We hold our own with all of them. And they'll throw some studies at us, but that really doesn't make us waver. We stick to our guns. You'll have to excuse me for a second.
What is that beeping? What's going on? Gonna get all sorts of conspiratard comments now because of that.
Yeah. I don't know.
You've summed it up nicely, though. It's exactly that. It's left brain versus right brain. It's what people have been told versus your intuition and instinct and observations. And when reality's on your side, you're gonna fare well. It doesn't matter how educated you are. Reality's on our side, unfortunately, for these educated people.
That's just it. And is it a matter of intelligence, like weighing an IQ versus an IQ, and what is an IQ really? But other than maybe an ability to memorize, which does that make you intelligent? Are you the best tape recorder we have? So you will be our leader because you memorize the best. Like, is that all it really is? It's memorizing and understanding it, I suppose, but memorization seems to be the thing that's rewarded. Memorization along with the belief in what you're memorizing. So you need to take it in, and you need to believe it, take it in your heart, basically. Like what we're telling you about the Helio model is true. Take it into your heart. Know it. It is true. Yes? Okay, here's your diploma. Here's your reward. If you question it, which I did, I went to Jesuit Catholic school, kind of like Jaron, 12 years, and I spent a lot of time in the hallway in the principal's office because things need to make sense to me, like with a lot of us, and you keep asking until it does. And sometimes the teachers get frustrated because sometimes you're a little smarter than your teacher as far as what real smarts is. The ability to think for yourself, the ability to think clearly, think critically, and not just be a parrot, not just be a drone. And the Jesuit school teachers really don't take kindly to that. They're like, it is because this is the way it is. That's it. Like, and that's usually, they don't have anything beyond that, but you get 100 more questions, get out. Just get out. So it's almost like they accuse you of being a troll in class when you're not trolling. You want to know how gravity works. How does a push-pull work? Like, all the years of astronomy I did, I still didn't understand gravity. Because let's say, wow, it's this 3 chalkboards of math behind me. Then you'll know gravity. So basically, I've taken your word for it. Okay. You just kind of throw it away. Okay, yeah, that's... And you look behind you, you have a big pile of unanswered questions that need to be gotten to. Flat Earth fills in all those gaps. Like, it was just completing all of the things as soon as I came across it. Now that makes sense. Now that makes sense. Now that makes sense. It's epiphanies that we've all enjoyed in Flat Earth, I think.
Yeah, it was a mad epiphany for me. I mean, for me, it was Math Powerland. And I don't know if I'm pleased or not that it wasn't Mark Sargent's clues first, because I know it's so well arranged. For a layman into Flat Earth, you can really kind of step your way forward through the cognitive deprogramming almost. Whereas with math, it wasn't like that. It was just fucking craziness. I say craziness in brackets because it's not really craziness. I've reviewed some of the stuff that he said again now that I'm further along, and you go, wow, there's so much stuff in there that I just didn't understand at the time, but now I do. And when Matt's saying it, it's even more difficult to digest. But literally, when he said flat Earth without saying it, I think you said this at the beginning of the show, but not in ridicule, just hearing it not being torn a new one or being used to pour scorn on somebody as an idiot. When I heard it in those terms, I literally went and woke my wife up. I shook her out of bed and I was like, the Earth's flat. It's amazing. Delighted because, as you say, I had an epiphany. It's like a eureka moment. You have flashes of all these things we now talk about on these shows, like sitting in the plane, looking out at the plane, swinging a bucket when I was about 7 years old and thinking, I've just had an explanation of how water sticks to the Earth. And this doesn't make any sense, and then you put it on the back burner and forget about it till, 20 or 30 years later when you hear someone like Matt Powerland mention it in a positive context. It's definitely an epiphany. But do you feel better or worse? You've mentioned about the trolls descending on your older videos. Is it a positive experience now, or do you still feel similar and, cautious about your road forward?
Well, like sometimes a positive experience can hurt and be rough along the way. Like let's say you're really dirty and you need to be clean, so somebody hits you with a hose to clean you. It's not a very pleasant experience, but it is a positive experience because now you're cleaning up. So for me, it's like I'm getting shit thrown at me by the trolls, but it was a positive experience. It's not fun to go through, but it sharpened me, made me stronger, made me more aware on my game with the facts, and it only did good. The way I look at it is you're either going to prove me wrong and then I will correct that mistake, or that's basically it. Like I'm not going to get anything by being right. If I'm going to stay the same. So it's only a win-win the way I look at it. So if you want to come at me, then okay, prove me wrong, please. Like by all means, please. And then I'll find a mistake. Okay, now my argument is that much better. So you've bettered me. So I thank them for that when they do it. And it's happened. We don't start off perfectly polished. Along the way, we sharpen our facts. We sharpen our maths, maybe you could say, or science of it. I've sharpened. I'm not afraid to take on MIT, Harvard, Oxford. I prefer it. I want to get to those teachers. I would like to set up maybe at MIT or Harvard, Flat Earth, New England. We're going to do. We're doing a park right next to Harvard. We're going to be within eye shot of Harvard. The 23rd, I want to say. That's the big day of the planetary lineup and everything that we're going to have on September 23rd. We are having a meetup that day, so we'll see how that goes as far as the energy, the celestial activity, the astrology of it all. But I want to come across some of these teachers, and we were at Revere Beach a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, and we came across a gentleman with a PhD in physics from MIT. And he spent a good 45 minutes with us. And we had our P900s out. And we were showing him this lighthouse 7.1 miles away, 32.6 feet, curvature drop, the whole thing. And he said, well, if your numbers are right here, you guys have something. He's very neutral, unbiased, no confirmation bias. He was just telling us straight up, facts plus facts equals facts. Then yes, you have something if all of these facts are as you say they are, as they're true. Like our math, if our math is true, we have something. We're not on that ball of that math. And he was intrigued, and he walked away with one of Brother Ernest got his information, and we gave him some paperwork to look over, and hopefully Brother Ernest is still in touch with him. But we need that. We need more accredited people, the teachers, who teach this. That's my target. I want to go out to have dialogue with them, serious dialogue. And when I do, it's a very enjoyable experience because they're teaching me things that I still didn't know. And oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, what about this? Now we show them things that they didn't know. I had one debate with a scientist. We couldn't even get the numbers of the thermosphere right as far as temperature. And one aspect is they tell us the temperature of the thermosphere. Like the PhD guy from MIT made me aware of something I didn't even think of. I said, the thermosphere is 2,000 degrees, and he said, stationary or movement. And I was like, you know what? I never thought about that, because it's even worse with movement, because now you have the friction aspect. This is still within atmosphere. So the ISS, 17,000 miles an hour, friction now. So that 2,000 degrees, do they state if that's stationary or in movement? Because I don't remember them stating either way. But stationary is bad. Movement's even worse through 2,000 degrees. So that thing would be literally like and this man it would look like a streak in the sky. He says, this is what those fireballs are. It's burning up through the atmosphere. It's the friction creating that heat. This ISS would be doing the same thing. It would be a fireball in the sky, traveling through 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, 17,500 miles an hour. It would be a fireball, because it's still well within the atmosphere, because you still have half the other thermosphere to go through, plus the exosphere. So it's still like hundreds of miles of atmosphere, technically, according to them. That stuff I find very fascinating talking to, and I learned something new.
Wouldn't your Charles flat Earth math just say that at that layer it's very, very it's so rarefied that the friction is negated because there's literally less stuff to be rubbing against.
But even a little bit of 2,000 degrees is still 2,000 degrees. And
no, I already know the comeback, but it's just I'm just putting it across for the audience so that
you know exactly what he's going to say. And when the Boston Globe contacted us and we were talking to them, they asked if we had any affiliates who were on the other side of the fence. The only one I could think of that I trust enough to be, give a pretty not disparaging, not patronizing towards us kind of report was Charles, basically. So Charles did get in touch with them and they spoke, and Charles and I are friends, despite our opposing views, it doesn't take away from my respect for him and what he does, and he believes in what he does, and I respect that. And I like the way he carries himself with us. And I'll give him the pass for the little patronizing tone he has sometimes, passive aggressive. I give him a pass because he does so well on the other parts.
Also, he doesn't. He's a good person to have around to show the flip side of what we get accused of, which is trolling. So there's many a flat Earth troll out there, and they can be quite vicious. And when you've got someone like Charles who doesn't rise to it, I don't need to repeat what you've just said that was a bit negative about Charles. We all know Charles, or some of us know Charles. But he won't, he doesn't immediately go to ad hominem attacks. He'll not swear. He's generally quite civil. So it's nice to see an example of the flat earthers actually being as bad as some of the globe head trolls, which admittedly are much greater in numbers, but there are quite a few flat earthers out there that are pretty disgusting in their treatment of Charles. It makes me cringe. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I hosted a hangout in summer of 2016 where I had a full panel of flat earthers, and I invited Charles in to protest by them. Why are you giving this guy time of day? I said, why not? I mean, how many other accredited, I guess you could say, people are dabbling around? We're mostly dealing with kids. In my perception, we're dealing with a lot of troll kids. I wanted to deal with some adults here who can carry themselves. And like you said, Charles doesn't swear. He doesn't conduct himself in a foolish manner. He's pretty professional and intelligent and intellectual, and I enjoyed that. So I had him on the panel, and they were blasting him hard. F you, Charles, F you. And I'm like, no, come on, guys.
Maybe we can ask. We've got some agreement. I wasn't going to read. I don't normally go to the chat while I've got a guest, but I will in this instance. So I got Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole says, I don't give Charles a pass. And then YouTube agreeing, saying, Dearth, same here. So maybe the chat will tell us specifically why they don't give Charles, or Flat Earth Math, a pass? We shall see. Hopefully we'll
I
get some
give him a
scrolling
pass
answers coming by.
because we don't have a lot to pick from. That we can have dialogue with who conduct themselves well. We don't. We really don't. And Charles is one of the best out there that we have to throw back and forth with. And funny is that he's helping me debunk NASA and, well, the space agencies. Him and I, we will exchange emails every now and then. And he sent me one a few weeks back from the European Space Agency. And it was something they published where they did side-by-side rockets, Soyuz rockets, I guess. And it was 2 different launches. And they had animated GIFs side by side. And so that way when the propellant ejects and they tumble away, because I'm always going back and forth with Charles about the fakery. He's like, look, Jibby, look at the way they tumble away uniformly. That's precision engineering. He likes to throw that at me. So I said, all right, give me a little bit here. And then a few days later, I caught it. The cloud patterns, they matched. What they did is they took one of them and they rotated it 90 degrees. So when I rotated it 90 degrees, so the rocket was going horizontally while the other one was going vertically, now the cloud patterns matched. 2 different days, 2 different missions, 2 different launches, same cloud patterns. But you didn't notice it because one of them was tilted. No, I'm always looking for these things. This is my expertise.
Did you say that was NASA, or was that SpaceX?
I fixed it for him, and I emailed it to him, and I said, here you go, Charles. And then he points to one of the clouds and says, no, that's a mountain, Jibby. Have you seen Gem Panda's stuff? And then he just changed subject because I think he saw what I did there. And he said, keep them coming, Charles. Let's take them down together.
So he didn't actually concede the point, though.
He didn't, but I think I got him because this was undeniable. This is absolutely undeniable. It's going to be in compilations that I'll be doing of NASA fakery, of space fakery, and this is a big one. And it's just a matter of tilting it 90 degrees. And now all the cloud patterns match up, which is proof of altered mirroring of different. They just add layers and then point, click, add your rocket, change the color of the rocket. And that's all it is. It's software. It's software. And I did that
NASA
debate with Charles where he jumped off the panel because.
Was it SpaceX or NASA? Because it tends to be SpaceX that cheap out and do like reuse old footage and old layers and CGI and things like that. NASA tend to be, because they've got the budget to. Was that NASA?
SpaceX?
Yeah, I thought so. SpaceX do tend to do. They seem to be a bit more rough around the edges than NASA in places.
And landing a pencil rocket, dropping with waffle irons. That's clearly logical. It's
well, this is in the realms of magic tricks, isn't it? Because I know Jaron does a lot of videos on SpaceX, and they're look at this hand. It's basically a magic trick. And when they have the thing land, in most footage, I'm sure there's been an instance now where they've done a slightly better job, but they just cut away. They literally have a blocky, distorted picture, and then the rocket's landed. You're like, this is an absolute joke. But to the fanboys, they wholeheartedly believe it. This is going to get me flack, but it does kind of seem a bit pathetic when it is that obvious. Because it is obvious. It's just a magic trick.
I know, and then I tell myself, what's the catch? Because it is so obvious. What's the catch? Is this bait? Is this bait to get us all going, it's fake, it's fake? Like, are we falling for their trap? Because to anybody non-fluoridated brain-wise, it's pretty obvious. I mean, it really is. And it's like they drop the dummy down, and then they shut the lights off, turn the lights on, and then there's the person standing there. Ta-da! I mean, it's the magic trick.
And you said earlier that
the physics of it don't make any sense. It doesn't. And the flame that comes out of the rocket looks like butane. It's like a flame. It's like a literal, like this, where it should be rocket propellant. Those lighters that have like the torch. Well, this is what you see like at the bottom of the rocket coming down. Does this make any sense? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. That's not going to stop descent. That's just me and a bunch of us. We're all on that page, but.
Well, maybe we should say it in more broad terms. I occasionally have to be conscious of the fact that there might be people who come to this video who haven't got the slightest clue what we're talking about and will leave a comment 6 months from now that says, obviously the Earth's a globe. What are you talking about? And so if we put it in broad terms, space is fake. You know, what they present to us as infinite soups of nothingness is complete horseshit. You know, we have no idea what's above up, you know, and there's probably not very much of up anyway from what we can ascertain. You know, we can't go very high. So their representations of the heavens are, maybe I shouldn't say this, but they're no more realistic than the biblical representations of the heavens. You know, if you were to put it in cartoon form, there you go, that's soften the blow a little bit. You know, if you've got Monty Python's pictures of clouds parting with God sitting on top of it, you know, that's as valid as NASA and their presentations of what space is. You know, all they essentially are doing is having a look and then telling us what it is. They arbitrarily assign values to things in terms of weights and sizes, and they've got their backstories and their giant balls to explain why. But ultimately speaking, it's just another belief system. You have to take what they say on faith when it comes to space, because none of us are going. None of us are going and verifying what they tell us. So ultimately speaking, we have to take it on faith. And all the education system does, as you so eloquently put earlier, is get people to parrot what they say is the truth. Now, just saying something's true doesn't make it true, unfortunately, for NASA. And it doesn't matter how many bullshit presentations you put in front of somebody who already knows the magic trick. And that's the bottom line here. Once you know the magic trick, once you understand how they've faked space, you can't unsee it anymore. You know, this was going to lead me on to my question, which is, how do you view the globe? Is it something that you would say, well, maybe, you know, maybe they'll go up and take a decent picture, or is it dead to you?
It's completely dead. It's actually mostly decayed at this point. There's no chance of bringing it back. It's beyond. I'm in it for good. And Boston Globe reporter was telling that to Mark Sargent. He was kind of referring to me, but not by name. He's like, one of the guys in the Boston group I've been kind of focusing on. You know, he says, like, he kind of wishes he didn't fall into this because now he feels obligated. And it's true, because that's what I told him. I said, I feel like I'm obligated here, and I'll do whatever I have to do, because it's kind of like A plus B equals C now. I have this information, and I've been spending 20-something years of my life studying what the adults are doing at the adult table versus the kids at the kids table, which is where we're at. And I want to know adult speak, and I want to know what they're talking about, and I want to know what's really going on. So I've always looked into it. And I've been fighting NASA for over 20 years, mostly on the moon and Mars. Those two, the physics just were preposterous, and I've been fighting that. But Flat Earth brought me into a whole new level of NASA fakery. Like, the ISS is now fake. Satellites are fake. Like, there's no asteroids. None of those things are real anymore. So that just broadened my horizons, and now I see it. Now I
keep going. The list goes on. Planets, exoplanets, the Kuiper Belt, the Oort cloud. What else we got? You know, you can't deny certain things, though, because you can actually physically witness them. So orbital mechanics, ka-ching, nice little tick. We can witness those things. But to say that that's a rock going around a gas body or another rock, nah, sorry. Unless you actually go and check, I'm not buying it. You know, you can give me all the different light frequencies you like. Couldn't care less. You're not checking. You're not verifying. You're just looking. Just having a little look and then telling us what it is. No, just don't accept that anymore. Can't do it. You know, you've got to give me something better. And they're never going to come up with anything juicy. We know how badly misrepresented it has been. And if there was any shred of truth in it, they'd have decent proof. You know, they'd have something to convince us. You know, we'd be easy to convince. And we say it all the time. We throw it off, you know, just give us the proof. You know, we'll throw their budget back in their face, the 52 million a day that they spend. You know, for that, get us some decent shots. Get us some really top quality high altitude shots. Don't just tell us that they're high altitude. And you go, what are the odds? You go really high on the ISS, and it is pretty high. And they're always using what looks like a zoom lens to take pictures of the ground. It's like, silly. And then when you actually get the 24-hour feeds that are like a fairly wide shot, it's so preposterous. It's so blatantly CGI'd together. It's so fake. And again, for most people, they can't see the magic trick because they've never seen that point of view. They've got no reference point. We use that as our strongest argument. Well, we can't go, we can't check, we can't verify. We don't have that vantage point. And they use it as their layer of cognitive dissonance for most people. This is how it is. We can show you. This is what it looks like. And for any guy who just goes, well, I've got a mental construct of a globe, and there's a picture of it. What's to question? For your average Joe, he couldn't care less. Even if you tell him that it's fake, they'll say something like, oh, what difference does it make? Does it really matter if it's flat or not? Yeah, it does matter. We're being deceived on a huge level. So yeah, it's pretty important.
Yeah, and I think for those people, like, they're just seeing their immediate surroundings. Like, what do I have to do tonight? What do I have to do tomorrow? What do I have to do next week? How is the shape of the Earth going to make any difference in that? So they're only seeing their immediate kind of surroundings and not so much the bigger aspect of it and what it implies into their lives, right down to the daily level, what it implies and how they should now rearrange everything. Like, let's say if your routine is watching 6 hours of television with your kids every day. Well, now if you know the Earth is flat, then you've been lied to on such a scale, and it's perpetuated by this TV. And now, is the TV your friend or your enemy? And now, can you trust their advice? And now, can you trust what they recommend to eat on their commercials and all? So what it implies is such a big thing that you can't just hear it and then 30 seconds later come out with a very thoroughly well thought out response. Like, well, what difference does it make in my life? Well, that's somebody who said that hasn't really sat back and pondered it for a few days and just let your mind start dominoes of what that implies and how that implies to all the levels below and below that and below that and below that, and what this all trickles down to and what it really means. And they're just kind of like, that's just a quick impulsive response, I think. And we come down hard on them. We really do. Like, oh, you're such an idiot. How can you say such a thing? But we need to be a little bit more understanding, I think. And I need to take that advice myself, because I come harsh on people like that too, because it's so frustrating. It's like, what do you mean? Like, it's, like, this is the biggest thing. Like, this affects everything.
Well, for most people, literally, they will see what's on TV and they will trust it. And once you appreciate that the scale of lies goes to the point that they will lie to you about the very ground beneath your feet, suddenly you're less inclined to believe them when they show you some false flag or some hoax or some government-paid piece of propaganda which has been pre-filmed, pre-packaged, preordained to happen in the first instance. You're going to question that. But as it stands, most people are like, yeah, that's what the TV said. The news said it's so, so it's so. And that's a massive form of control, especially when you have, invasions. And I can hear myself cringe as I say these things, because we're buying into things that, again, we don't necessarily verify ourselves. Not that I'm denying that wars happen, but you don't know how far it goes in terms of what they say is important in life. Money, is it really that important? But it's one of the control structures that surround us. I've got people in the chat saying 52 million, and it's tip of the iceberg. And you're going, well, yeah, you're right, if you quantify it in those terms. But if you quantify it, that's how big the scale of deception can be. Literally, your very reality has been lied about. Then you can start to appreciate let's not call them less important lies, but the other lies that we are surrounded by daily. We are continually lied to about everything. 99% of what we see is deception. It's amazing to be able to just say that without stuttering, but it's true.
Yep. Before Flat Earth, I was fighting the vaccine fight, fighting the fluoride fight, fighting all those tangible, provable, peer-reviewed fight. Like, there's videos from the 50s where scientists were saying, look what the sodium fluoride molecule does to the cells. Look what it does to the neurons here. I find no beneficial evidence whatsoever for sodium fluoride, and that is what the recommendations that I recommend to the council. And this is from like 67 years ago. They just put it in anyway, and you can see what it's doing to the cells and all the studies and all the whistleblowers. And the whistleblowers are located on YouTube. Oh, YouTube. So YouTube is heavily demonized, but like deep inside the rabbit hole says, what's not on YouTube? Everything's on YouTube. Your local news that night will be on YouTube that night or the next day. Like, so the same things are on YouTube that are on your TV. But why, why is when the argument against you, now you demonize the medium, but when it's for you, you praise the medium, it's all subjective bias. It's confirmation bias, subjective bias. So YouTube has such great information. You want to install new Windows as a how-to, DIY for everything. You want to change parts of your car. YouTube is a very effective medium for learning. It really is. In all aspects, even astronomy. Amateur astronomers, I can't afford a $10,000 telescope, but the people with them post online on YouTube. They post their $10,000 telescope views of the planets, and it's awesome. So now I can vicariously enjoy them to those people who can't afford them. It's a great tool. And the whistleblowers are all over YouTube. The doctors who lost their license to practice, and whistleblowing about the vaccines and all the corruption in the pharmaceutical companies. People won't spend that time because I don't think they care enough. And I think it comes down to caring about yourself, because if you don't care about yourself, how can you care about anyone else? In my opinion.
While we've just got on the subject, can you make it? I know I watch Crow 777 and Take Back Space for really high def space footage, and in my experience, I mean, my telescope isn't fantastic, but it's better than most people can just look up and see. Far better. But by comparison to what I can see with my scope, I would literally say that some of these streams are superior. They have better resolution than I can get with my telescope with the naked eye. Just incredible, to see. Have you got any recommendations? So I'll rattle them off mine again. So Crow, CRROW 777, and Take Back Space. I think he's now called Take Back Space TV. Christy is the host of that one. But did you have any others that you can recommend? Oh, I think Jibby's dropped and come back in when he gets his mic back off mute. And repeat the question once he's there. Shout outs to the chat while he's rejoining. I think he's having a few technical issues. Let's read some of the chat. Banksy Shill. How you doing? Good to see you. Oh, the other chat's a lot more busy than this one. How you doing, Issa Mahal? Mark Taylor? Have you here? Agent Gem Panda? Should use your channel name, really, shouldn't I, Issa? Flat Earth Court. Subscribe now. Nice and cordial in here. Hank Hill, good to have you here.
Have I returned? Am I back?
You have. What happened there?
I'm having browser issues here.
Sorry. I was just going to say, did you have any recommendations for specific streams that do high def space?
No.
Short and sweet.
No, they're all junk. Is my camera working? I can do an F5.
Nah, not at the moment. Camera. Maybe flick it on and flick it off again.
Yeah, let me try that. There we go. All right.
There you go. That's looking beautiful.
No, all the live streams are bunk. They're. I used to fall asleep to the ISS stream. Just
no, I didn't mean those space. No, sorry. Of course, because you must have dropped halfway through what I was saying. So I was saying people like Crow 777 and Take Back Space TV have got, as the name suggests, they're taking, with Chris D's channel, taking back space and showing it for what it really is. Just showing it. And I was saying that's, for my eyes, better than what I can get through my telescope. With lenses. Amazing, some of the equipment that they've got. But do you have any recommendations for reality-based space channels?
I've lost track of them, and a lot of them they just kind of they get all the planets, they put them up, and that's it. They don't really do much more. They might come around for celestial events, Perseids, meteor showers, and things like that. But like they'll usually put the name of their telescope in the title, and you can look up that telescope just for Google and then click shopping, so you can get a price range of it. And some of them you'll see well into the thousands, and those people have equatorial mounts and whatnot, and they'll give you a view of the celestial bodies in a way that you'll never be able to afford to see them. And I've looked through $10,000, $15,000 scopes. So what they're showing you is true, is what you'll see through those scopes. So they're not doctoring it or whatever, but they're never showing you anything remotely close to the space agencies with terra firma, definitive ground to anything. It just looks like they all look like ball of gases to me.
I'm just gonna clarify again, just for that guy, that one person or woman that's watching this that doesn't follow. So what we're now talking about is when you look through your telescope, you'll see points of light in the sky. Some of them have got rings around them. Some of them have got various other things that travel around them. However, what NASA present to us is glorious artwork of distant worlds, and they have all sorts of descriptions about gas and the masses, and you can imagine what I'm talking about just by describing. I'm not going to bring up any images, but these aren't what you see through a telescope. Au contraire, it's not at all what we see through a telescope. Now, they will claim that they have got these from ships that are traveling to far away places that we could never reach, but ultimately this is the contrast that I'm trying to explain to the audience, that you're not necessarily just talking about what's coming out of that lens of a telescope and click, that's your image of Saturn. We're talking about the bullshit that they provide you in their artwork and their CGI, correct?
Yep. Well, it is photoshopped, but
because it has to be.
It has to be. Yeah. And never did I see confirmation of a terra firma. And in fact, the only thing that I can say even remotely seems spherical is Saturn, and that's just because of the ring and because of the way the shadow is cast upon the ring. In the helio model, with the way that Saturn is towards the sun and the way the ring wraps around Saturn, with the light being cast on it, casts a shadow on the ring. I've seen the shadow on the ring. I'm like, wow, I can't really argue against that, because it does have the appearance of, unless it's a flat circle with a ring around it, which I've never heard of such a thing, but we don't know. But it does appear spherical. The rest, I don't know. They're just circles to me. They're circles of gas, it looks like. I don't see solidity. I see gas. Well, it looks like a gas, just a ball of gas. And they do call the giant planets gas giants. So coincidentally, they do appear to just look like balls of gas. And Venus and whatnot, I can't get a resolution tight enough to see anything other than yellow, basically, just yellow. Maybe I'm looking at clouds, I don't know, but it's so hard because they're so bright. Now you have to adjust your contrast. You have to adjust the lighting just right to be able to absorb all that light and then shade it down a bit. And there's a little bit of a hack you can do with the P900 where you shine a flashlight in the lens, then you lock in the new contrast. And now it's not just like a blur. And people could do that with the stars, because that'll improve their sharpening of the stars as well. And I've zoomed in on some stars, and no matter how much I sit there and I play with each delicate turn of the manual focus, you can only focus in so much, because it's like you're trying to focus in on balls of dancing plasma reflected off something. So there's only so much sharpness and resolution you can get with it. But if you're looking at a ball of any type, you're not sharpened in enough. You're not focused enough, because it shouldn't look like a ball. It should look like dancing plasma. It should look weird. And there's people who have hit pauses, and that you see that this is what the stars look like. And that is what they look like. And each one looks different. Some are red, some are blue, some dance weird, some dance differently. Some look like they have a shape to it. It's so bizarre. And there's a guy named John Leonard Walson who's been putting stuff out, I want to say since 2008, 2009, maybe sooner. He has this technique. He hooks a camera up to his computer, and now he resolves the stars a little better, and they look like, I don't know, they look like ghostly transformers or giant ships that morph and transform. And somebody said, somebody says a lot of things, but somebody said that they were fake. But he'll show you. Here's my camera hooked into the laptop, and you'll see it on the laptop, and he'll go to the LCD on the camera, and there's that thing on the camera pointed up. So if he's faking it, he's doing a great job. And it's very convincing. And I've seen for myself that some of the stars up there are fakers. They're not real stars. They just park. And then you're watching them move with a constellation over time. And then these things will just move. They'll just take off on their own. But they were parked. And then they just start moving. And a lot of people who stare at the sky have seen these things. And we don't know what they are. They could be ships. We don't know. We don't know what they are. Drones, maybe. I don't know.
This isn't far-fetched. This is something that if you've got low enough light, you can see this with the naked eye. I mean, I've seen this myself. This isn't shocking. If you just look, just stare up at the night sky for long enough, you will see things like this. It's not uncommon at all. I'm going to say, would you agree? I hope you'll just say yes, absolutely. It does.
Absolutely. But what is uncommon is somebody looking up, because they're always looking at their device. They're
precisely
just,
exactly. People don't look
up. Those are clouds. And they're all just, that's it. Everybody's looking down. So the devices, in a way, are a win for them, because you're putting all your information on them. You're looking down instead of looking up. You're engaged, and you're not communicating anymore with your family. Everybody's sitting around the table on their devices. You're not talking at the restaurant anymore. You're hanging outside by the fire. Everybody's on their thing. So what a tool these devices really are, like these phone devices. So I've kept it old school as far as I can. I don't know where my phone is right now. Like, it's just this is my phone. They don't even make these anymore. It doesn't even have a camera. It's just it barely has internet. But it's a little prepaid phone, and I'm keeping it old school. And I find myself looking out the window, looking at the sky, talking to people. I don't have anything I want to do on this. I can go home and do right now. I do need I have to update eventually. You can only stay so long outside the herd before they don't hear or see you anymore. Hey guys, and the herd, and they're just walking along. And eventually you got to get one of the iBorg devices, plug in. Now they can hear you. It took me till 2013 before I joined Facebook, because I'm like, that's it. Like, I can't talk to anybody anymore unless I get on Facebook. So I get on Facebook to talk to my friends and family, because otherwise I'm dead. As far as they know, I'm not on Facebook. Well, then I don't exist anymore. So it's like I had to kowtow to it. It's like, all right, I got to give in. And I hold out as long as I can. I was probably the last guy on MySpace. I hold out as long as I can on the old mediums. Because each time they upgrade the medium, it's just a little bit more freedom, a little bit more privacy we lose. And I try to hold on to it as long as I can, like analog versus digital and all that. Because I know where they're steering us. We all know where they're steering us. And I'm trying to hold on as long as I can before I have to follow the sheep, just so I can talk to them. And as flat earthers, we're aliens on our own planet. That's pretty much how I feel.
Yeah, sometimes it can feel a little bit isolated, especially when you venture into the real world, and what you are faced with is, although I say that, I was about to say something really negative. I'm going to say something positive now. I wasn't necessarily going to bring this up, but sometimes you do hear people talking in terms that you think, you're a purple pillar. You're halfway there. So I took my kids swimming, and I was in the changing rooms afterwards, and I'm listening to the conversation in the changing rooms, very close quarters because it's being refurbished, and they're talking about the flu vaccination. And the one guy was saying that he had the flu vaccination a couple of years ago, and it gave him pneumonia. And I was like, fucking hell. You know, that's that's pretty severe. And he was saying, oh, I really don't want to do it again. And I kind of wanted to scream at him and say, just don't do it. You know, clearly you've had a really horrible effect, but he's still questioning whether or not he should be taking this injection. But at least he's kind of verbally questioning it. Do you know what I mean? With his friends, oh, I'm thinking about whether or not I should or shouldn't. And, you know, the doctor saying I should and all the rest of it, because he had ill health from, you know, I won't go into too much details about this random stranger's life. But nevertheless, it was quite encouraging to hear people to at least some degree questioning what they're told. And these are just, you know, Joe Blogg's normal. But I will put my negative spin on it now. On the whole, you go out into society and you're kind of disappointed about everybody. Everybody's just talking about the soap opera that's on TV or the latest horrible thing that's on the news. Probably bullshit. You know, that's most people in society. That's most of the Western world. And it does get a little bit depressing. You can, as you put it, feel like that sheep that's wandering away from the pen as they all go into the distance holding their iPhone X's.
Yep. And I'm a black sheep of my family, but I came out to them about flat Earth probably about a month ago. My extended family, like aunts, uncles, cousins, that kind of thing. And I actually wore this shirt to the family reunion, and they were like, "Oh, that's so nice! Like, who made that?" And I'm like, "Actually, I don't know." And they're like, "So what have you been doing these days?" Well, I kind of have fun doing the activism thing. It's kind of like I do like truth and comedy. I kind of throw comedy in with like conspiracy and then I showed him a couple things, and I started talking to my engineer cousin. He's been an engineer for 30 years. So I'm hitting him with the engineer aspects of flat Earth, which for me is construction of the ISS, the physics of the ISS and whatnot. So I started to break it down with him, and he asked people ask the initial question, well, what about this? Well, what about that? And you answer them, and then they, okay, yep, yep, makes sense, yep. And he just nodded, and he's looking down, and he's like, yeah, okay. Well, what about? Okay, yep. And I got to him, I think, and you got him thinking, like, okay, yeah, and I think they're gonna now have a little bit more of an open mind about it. But that's a very hard thing because that side of the family is very conservative. They're Christian, they're conservative. Pretty much all of them are well off. They do very well, and this is way outside of their, their line of reasoning. They're very straightforward, left brain mostly, but they're down to earth as well. It's my family, so if I can do it, they can do it, and I think I get to them, and I wasn't even concerned about the fear aspect. Like we all fear about, oh, I don't want my friends and family to stop talking to me or whatever, but I swallowed a bullet on this one. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be ashamed of what I know to be true in my heart. And I'm going to stand tall and I'm going to stand proud. I'm going to stand there with a smile and take it. Yep. And that makes a difference too, because of the way you present yourself. And sometimes people might not know what you're talking about when you're going globe versus flat against somebody, but the way you conduct yourself. I was just talking to Issa about this. The way you conduct yourself sometimes against a globe earther makes all the difference in the onlooker's perception of, who is winning this debate, if you want to call it a debate, or who's conducting themselves maturely, who's conducting themselves well. And when the globe earther starts to get erratic, and here comes the insults and the F words and the swearing, and you're sitting there saying no, and you're still conducting yourself calm, cool, and collected, the people take that in and go, I don't believe the Earth's flat, but this flat earther seems to have, their head on straight. They seem to be conducting themselves well. I'm going to look into this more. And I don't know how many people, like so many people I've swayed, just not because my argument had truth to it to them, but the way I conducted myself in a debate against somebody. And that's very important. We need to keep our heads, and we need to stay grounded in what we know to be true. We know it's true because we've done the work ourselves, a lot of us. And if you haven't, go out and do it yourself, because you will not be more confident than when you yourself have done this versus you parroting somebody else's experiment. Because how confident are you in someone else's experiment? You're not going to be as confident as you will in your own,
and then your own results. So do these yourselves. Just do it for the sake of walking through the steps. But at least you yourself have done it. You've gone and looked out with a telescope or a P900 or something, or you did the math, you did the experiments, things like that over water. Whatever you can do, like sky observation, do these yourself and then stand solid in your knowing of your data, because you're just taking in neutral data. That's all it is. Data is not biased one way or the other. It's not. It doesn't choose to be right or wrong. It's the person whose perception makes it true or not true or whatever. But it's facts are facts. Objective reality is objective reality. And if you can prove it by your own observations, and of course taking the refraction and all that and whatever, but overall it's flat. It's flat as far as I can see. And I guess somebody just got pictures, or not pictures, but still images from balloons of the firmament. Did you see those?
No. I was going to come on to Dome a bit later on. I mean, before we come off track though, because you've levelled a criticism at somebody that was in chat, which is Flat Earth Court, Issa Mahal. So, what about the way he conducts himself? Just so positive criticism.
Yep. Yeah, and he was telling that to me. He's like, I've won over so many people just on the way I conducted myself in a discussion with somebody about flat Earth. And I said, me too. Like they've literally said, like, I don't believe the Earth's flat, but the flat earthers here are conducting themselves like mature adults. So I'm going to look into it, and it's literally, I couldn't be happier with that kind of result. And it's not even about the understood the physics I was talking about or anything. It's just the way you conduct yourself, because a lot of times it just comes down to presentation. It's not so much substance. And that's what we deal with the fake news and everything. It's about the presentation. If the presentation sells you, that's it. They don't need any substance after that. They've got you. So if you're presenting your argument well, and it's all about a good presentation, eventually they'll understand it. But in the meantime, you've at least sparked their interest to look into it because of the way you presented, the confidence you showed, and your information. It makes a difference.
So
that's what I've noticed.
On to domes then. I mean, the dome is the one thing I'd say I've had no experience of it. I've not seen anything. I mean, the thing that always goes through my mind when anyone brings up the dome is Amber Plaster singing. And the video that's on my channel, I use it as a channel trailer. It's a great song. But when she talks about the dome, she says there's clearly a dome. And there's a picture of a high altitude balloon playing in the background. And to my eyes, there clearly isn't a dome. So what have you seen of the firmament? Because I've not seen these images. Where are they? What are they? Who's put these up?
I could screen share. I
Wicked.
took caps. So I don't know if that's good. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, great.
Screen caps. Okay. Okay. Now I pulled it up. I want to screen share. And I guess this is a month old.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. There. Now this, and I guess the title of this video is First Photo of Dome Firmament Above Flat Earth. Now what this person did is they took high altitude balloons and they would hit pause at certain points, and then they raise the contrast and the brightness and whatnot. Now this is the firmament right here. This is the balloon has tilted upward. This is the sun right here reflecting, like a lot of us have speculated that the sun is just a bank shot reflection off the dome. Well, here's the sun. And now this is what this person has pulled out of the blackness of space with just raising the contrast and brightness levels on a balloon video. And they said they've done this with several, and this is what they've pulled out. Now we got another one right here from the same video. Now this was not during an eclipse. So what do we have here? This is either that long straightaway, like we're seeing basically the darkness in between the dome and the flat, or it's one of those infamous orbs that seem to orbit the sun that's just at a spot that's causing what appears to be somewhat of an eclipse of the light. Well, it's one or the other. It's definitely not normal. Like, how does this work on the helio model, what we're seeing right here?
I have seen this before. Do you know who's shown this before? About a year ago, Phuket Word, Nick, showed a still that he caught on a whole series of photos he took. and it had what I think he called it the sky grid. I think that's how he described it. But
Yeah, I saw that, and it
very
looked
similar
almost like
in
a
appearance
grid.
to this. I mean, obviously, you're drawing your own conclusion, and I'm not going to disagree with you here. But very, very interesting. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's interesting. I'm not closing any books on the investigation yet, but that I found that very interesting. That what a good idea too. Just taking the balloon footage we already have and just tweaking it to maybe pull structure out of the sky so we can maybe see where that is, because you're looking into total darkness. We can't see how high up it is, but from that, it doesn't look like it's that high up after all. And these balloons may be getting very close to it. Like, it seems to be. Like, that balloon wasn't that far away.
This is the exciting thing. I mean,
so I'm going to go further into this now. It's motivated me to investigate further on the balloon videos.
Sure. I mean, I've definitely got aspirations for sending up balloons and things. I mean, I think it's extremely exciting because it's no longer in the territory of appealing to authority. You know, we can bleat all day and say, I'm just going to have to phrase it this way. No, I hope somebody doesn't pull this out as a quote from where it's from. But, you know, NASA could tell us tomorrow isn't a great argument. You know, we have to kind of, in this respect, yes, we have to veer away from the pack of sheep. And yeah, currently they're being fed this idea of space, so we've got this notion of what space is. But we can, to a degree, have a look for ourselves with the technology that we have. And we have got fantastic technology. There's no two ways about that. As much as we can, you know, belittle it with our older phones, no disrespect. But we do have great technology. We've got great cameras that are cheap, that we can send up and look at this stuff for ourselves, rather than saying, you know, come on, NASA, you can do better. You probably know this already. Tell us your secrets. It's like, well, nah, we can just look. We can be our own investigative journalists in how we present this to people. And hopefully, going forward, they would have as much discernment with us as they do with NASA. You know, these are the the people who've actually woken up to the deception, of course.
Yeah, and it was how long has it been since we've been able to have batteries that can last long enough in those harsh temperatures up there? Just 30, 40, 50,000 feet, you're kissing minus 70. That'll drain a battery.
Au contraire, they've put marvellous batteries on the moon that manage to power buggies, and they can send up amazing communications up to relays that were going around the moon that would broadcast back to Earth. Batteries technology, man, 60s stuff could do really good job.
Yep, you could power an air conditioner on your back.
Amazing.
For several hours in the intense radiation, not a problem. With just battery power. That's amazing, the batteries they had back then. It really is.
Incredible. We're talking about the moon landings, of course. I mean, I think that's probably a good subject to come on to, because certainly when you're talking to total globe heads, I mean, Charles is included in this list, they're fully sold on NASA and every aspect of it. You know, they're not gonna have the luxury, shall we call it, of saying, well, I don't believe the moon landings are true, but I still think the ISS is real. You know, they're full on, in for a penny, in for a pound. They believe it all. You know, Gem Panda's in the chat at the moment, Agent Gem Panda. Let's see if it's said anything interesting. You can look at the sky and see it. That's very true. But yeah, he's in there, and he's fully sold and will defend them to the hilt. But it's bollocks. You know, the moon landings are an absolute joke. You've only got to look at them.
Yep. I've been picking on them for over 20 years. There's so much to pick, but it was the initial shadows and things like that that just got my attention with it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be. So I was like, okay, now you've got my attention. Go on. And looked more and more. All right, now we got the footprint. How do you leave a footprint on the moon without moisture? You can't. I know Mythbusters attempted it, but take dry ash out of your wood stove. It's a very fine ash. And that would be probably a close example to it, because there's absolutely no moisture in your wood stove ash. And get a pile of that, go try to make a footprint in it. See if it'll hold. You know, I mean, you really do need the moisture to grab the
the definition of the bottom of the boot, which they left behind. And Charles will tell you that too. He says, yeah, that was an outer boot. And they basically took them off and left them on the moon. So the one at the museum has a different bottom. So they're doubling up on their boots. So that one finely crafted boot wasn't good enough. We're going to have a double boot here. So they're doing all these maneuvers in double boots, and the way they would fall and bounce back up again. I mean, it defies physics. It's just, and I think you said that you had experience with trapeze. Am I correct there?
Well, I mean, I did a performing arts course. So
Not like you were doing them, but you've seen them or whatnot.
Sure. I know how it works.
Yeah, and there's wires going on, and I think it was that the staging up above on the wire crane lift would lift them up, and we've all seen the ping from the wires and such, and there's so, like, you can go on and on about and they're over here at one day, and then another day they're said to be miles away, but the hills are exactly the same, and things, so many anomalies, and the NASA trick is never acknowledge it. That way, you've not acknowledged it. So NASA, did you really go to the moon? All right, next question. And they'll just avoid. And they keep avoiding, which keeps it going. Because they won't address it. They'll say, don't watch those videos. They're stupid.
But it's clever how they have their disinformation and debunkings out in the same breath. So you mentioned about the boots. And my wife said that to me. She said, on Facebook, they've got a picture of the boots in the museum, and they don't match the footprint. And I was like, yeah, whatever. It's kind of, the moon landing stuff is kind of, I don't know. For me, it's not tedious. It's just kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of obvious. Kind of sigh when you hear it. You're like, really? Are we really having this conversation?
It's the dead horse thing. Yeah, it's beaten. It's done. The physics of Mars was another one that I was hitting, as Mars is said to have only a small percentage of the atmosphere pressure that we have here on Earth. Well, there are balloon videos that they have the parachute attached to it, and now the balloon is rising up, and you can see the speed and air temperature and all that in the readout, and it's things moving 60, 70 miles an hour. And at the bottom of the atmosphere, the parachute's like open. It's pretty open because it's at the bottom, so it's kind of creating a drag, but that parachute later will now halt the descent. So there's camera on the bottom, there's camera up, there's camera to the side, these very nice balloon launches. And you see in the atmosphere, the parachute's deployed. Now when we're at 80,000, 90,000, 100,000 feet, here's the parachute. It's all shriveled. The thing is still moving 60 miles an hour upward, but the parachute now, there is no atmosphere to grab onto to open the parachute. This is what would happen on Mars. And they say that they've dropped all these landers and things on Mars. That would drop like a hot rock, just because the parachute won't open because the atmosphere is too thin. So that's just physics debunking them landing on Mars, according to the way they say they landed. So you can just take physics alone and say, nope, you're lying based on the physics that you said you're doing. So you don't need to say it looks fake, so therefore it is. No, just use the physics that they say and duplicate it in the same kind of environment. Take near a vacuum, not a vacuum. Have a little bit of atmosphere in it. See how well a parachute works. It doesn't. So these things would have crashed, especially heading towards Mars so quickly. It's when you look into it, New Horizons going out to Pluto. When they showed the ring around Pluto, I do this. I jump around a lot with astronomy and NASA. I can do this all day. But the ring around Pluto, taken by New Horizons, I thought they were throwing in the towel because the sun from Pluto is supposed to be so small. It would be like this is actually giving them credit. Holding a basketball in your hand with a match at the end of it, and now you take the basketball and you occult the light of the match. Is it going to leave a ring? You know what I'm saying? Like the size of the sun being occulted by Pluto, creating a ring around Pluto, that totally defies everything they've ever said. It makes absolutely no sense. It basically gives a silhouette of what we see of like a full solar eclipse. But this is New Horizons looking at Pluto with the sun behind it. And they were all applauding, yeah, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Oh my God. Ah, like they're just all excited about it. And it's the fakest thing I've ever seen. It's so ridiculous. But that's for somebody who's followed and been a NASA fanboy for so long. You're in disbelief. They create depression in people who love astronomy. It's like, what? Whenever they'd be like, NASA's got a big announcement coming up, I would say, let me guess, maybe, possibly, could be life, maybe water, possibly, mayhaps, be, possibly, we don't know, possibly, maybe, possibly, end of live, news conference. Like, that's NASA. Never a straight answer. Literally, never, ever a straight answer. Just maybes, possibly. It's like ancient aliens. Ancient astronaut theories maybe possibly created us, mayhaps. It's just you get more confused after you watch the episode because now you have 100 more questions, and they embed more questions and more theoretical pseudoscience possibilities in you at the end of those shows, like Ancient Aliens. It just confuses you even more. It's best to not even watch them at all.
They've also conditioned the general public to just accept cartoons these days. So not only do we have Family Guy and American Dad, just literally adult cartoons, but when you watch Science at NASA, the YouTube NASA channel, their main official channel, they're presenting you with artist renderings. I forgot what the term is, but they'll put it in the bottom right hand corner in 2 or 3 frames of a video, but they'll say, here is Voyager, whatever, and they'll show you Voyager. But it's only, like I say, in a few of the frames that they'll explain that it's an animation. That's the word. So yeah, most people who are watching that are left with the idea that they've just watched Voyager. They're not even going to question, well, Voyager hasn't got a camera fly next to it, because most people haven't got that level of discernment. So they'll watch those programs, and it's deliberately positioned in that way. And for you and I, even pre-Flat Earth, we would have watched those, and for me, certainly, I was left with a real hollow feeling because you did notice the fact that it said animation. And you're like, well, when are we actually going to see something land on Mars? As opposed to this orangey feed from Johnny 5, when are we actually going to see something like that? And the answer is never. You never ever see that because they don't show you. But they show you lots. We are presented with loads. And back when it was the moon landing, they were doing the same thing. They were presenting you with cinematography, a fake filmed presentation, a representation of what a moon landing might look like, in the same way as they present us with animations of what it might look like to land on Mars. But these days, they disclaim the fact that it's an animation, whereas back then they went whole hog and actually tried to dupe us, for real. Rather than just saying, oh no, we have been to the moon, here's an artist's rendition of what it would look like, because obviously we can't film it, but trust us, we've been. On that occasion, they fully went, no, here's the footage. And, like, you say, this is something you've said a couple of times now, that you've been looking at it for 20 years. That's a hell of a time to be looking at moon landing fakery. So, how come such a long time without realising the Earth is flat?
I was directed on their dead end, which is they're lying because they're hiding the secret space program. They're hiding the alien technology, and I went down that dead end road.
Oh wow! So that bullshit, because Alex Jones is punting that to this day, and so is who's the other one that punts that? The turncoat guy. I've forgotten his name. Used to be debunking NASA, now isn't.
Guy?
Who, sorry?
The Flat Earth turncoat? What's his name?
No, it was a guy that used to be saying that NASA were faking the moon landings, and then he...
Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, yeah.
So yeah, he's punting the idea of the secret... they did actually go to the moon. Yes, they did have Kubrick film a load of bullshit and present that to the public, but that's because they were hiding the real intentions of going to the moon. So that bullshit's still being perpetuated in the alternative media to this day, and that was a rabbit hole that was set up 20 years ago.
Yep, and I went down that rabbit hole because I've been chasing UFOs for a long time. I had a very close encounter with one in 2008. I'm talking very close, like 150 feet away, not way up in the sky. And I managed to get, at the time, I had a flip phone with 1 megapixel, and I took 2 stills of what I saw instead of hitting video mode. I only had 30 seconds to react. It was this light in the sky, and I'm like, wow, that plane is moving really fast. And as soon as I said that to myself, it turned, and I saw tilted headlights, it looked like, and it was coming down rapidly and getting bigger and bigger. So I thought,
towards you.
oh my, a plane is going to come down. I thought a plane was going to make an emergency landing or crash, is what I thought. So I grabbed my phone thinking I'm about to capture a breaking news thing. And just as it got to the tree line, it leveled off and then goes over the tree line of the highway and then stops over my truck, which at this point I'm down about 25, 30 miles an hour on a 65-mile-an-hour highway, because I'm fascinated by this. I'm slowing down more and more and more in the slow lane. And now as it leveled off over the trees, I got one shot. And the phone, saving. Now it's over my truck. I go through the windshield. I get another shot. And I'm looking up at this thing, and it's this ball lightning plasma with 3 corner lights oscillating. So it looked like one of those TR3B triangles, which is what I thought it was. So I was like, oh my God, is this really happening? And then it just kept going over the tree line. So I got a good look at its underbelly and went on Google, triangle UFO, anything I could find. And images came up. And one of the images was USAF top secret TR3B aircraft schematics. And at the center, it said Mercury plasma. And I was like, that's what I saw, because that makes sense. Because when you spin Mercury that fast or whatever, it glows and it creates magnetic field or whatever. And I'm like, that makes sense. That's what I saw. My investigation was over because I found answers. Then cut to years later, I saw the same thing on a YouTube video, and all those corner lights separated and went in different directions. As the ball lightning went out, the corner lights just zinged off. So I didn't see any solid USAF craft. This is something else. They seem to be conjoined magnetically, I think, the balls or something.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing.
They also took the money shots off my that's another story. They went into my Gmail. I say they, I don't know who they are. They went into my Gmail and they got rid of all of the picture that I sent to other people, and then the 2 hard drives it was on got cooked in the same week. And I only have 1 picture left. And it's not really definitive in any way whatsoever. It's just one light in one of the corners of the thing, because I was just taking picture through the windshield, and that's the one I'm left with. And because I went back in the Gmail, because I'm like, well, I know I attached those, and I go back, it's gone. It's completely gone. I went to another email, it's gone. Go to my hard drives, they're dead now. Click, 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 click. I can't access them. They're cooked. The pictures are gone. So they can get in your email. If you get anything really good, they'll get it before you get it out there. Well, you might be able to get it out there like I did. I put it on MySpace. Put it on a MySpace bulletin. Can't go back anymore. That's long gone. But I didn't notice they pulled it out of my Gmail until like 2 years later, when I was about a year later, maybe, when I went back looking for it. I'm like, son of a bitch is gone. Because I archive all my Gmail, and it was gone. They went in it and took it and cooked my hard drives. But they're real. UFOs are real. I don't know what they are. I don't think they're man-made craft, a lot of these things. I think the only man-made craft are the drones that they have going on, silent drones and whatnot. This thing was also silent, but that I wrote about it on the internet. You can just put Jibby Jedi TR3B and you'll see a ton of forums where I've written in detail with the only picture I have remaining. I posted it there so you could see it all there. Lunatic Outpost, Conspiracy Outpost, I posted on all those forums. Just to get it out there, just share my information. That's what we do, right?
Well, there's a couple of things I'd say when it comes to UFOs. One, I stick my heliocentric hat on and say that in the world of heliocentricity, aliens have become a mathematical certainty. And this is in the last few years. This is a recent thing. But essentially, the maths proves that aliens exist. Therefore, aliens are real, and non-acceptance is futile. If you believe in the globe, if you think you live on a spinning sphere travelling through space, you now believe in aliens. It's not a fringe belief anymore. It's a fact of heliocentric reality. Now, that being said, again, like space, what we are presented with in terms of aliens is a farce. It's a nonsense. It's as ridiculous as the paintings of the planets, as far as I'm concerned. Now, that's with my heliocentric hat on. Take that hat off, and it's a whole different ball game, because potentially there could be, what I had in my cognition as infinite that way has now become infinite that way. So there could potentially be aliens across the plane. And in recent history, in the last 500 years, what they tell us in terms of our history, I mean, again, how much validity you give this is entirely your choice, but we have discovered new lands, and there were aliens there. People of different coloured skin, people of different cultures and different ways of living, but they looked pretty much like us. So to say that there could be more, and they could get more and more different as you get further and further out, perfectly feasible. What I do want to round out, though, coming off aliens just for a subject change, is onto a slightly contentious subject in Flat Earth, which is Antarctica. So what are your views in terms of Antarctica and its geographical location, maybe, or just in general?
Well, for one, we don't know, unless we've been there ourselves, to verify where these stations are actually located that we're seeing cameras from and whatnot. For all we know, they could be near Greenland, they could be near the North Pole, and especially the ones that claim 24-hour sun, yet people have done excellent jobs debunking the fake 24-hour suns. I went over one with Charles not that long ago on the Flat Earth Mania channel, where he's like, check this out, Jibby. Look at this 24-hour sun. And within the first 2 seconds, I said, that sun doesn't look real. Right away. It just didn't look real. It looked like kind of an Adobe After Effects sun. And I said, look at my time lapse here of the sun. Look at yours of the sun. We know mine's the real sun. Yellow, bright. It flickers when the clouds are there. Here's this sun. Uniform, very soft. It was, sure enough, it was duplicated. And yeah, that's been debunked. That was a fake sun. And we're coming across a lot of fakery with 24-hour sun. So they want us to believe that these places are, getting 24-hour sun. I don't see it. And I also think it's a wild goose chase to make Antarctica our first exploration. No. Which direction do you go in? Do you even know? And how do you know what maps are reliable? I say we go to the North Pole. I said that's where we should direct our attention. It's close. We know where we're going. We have a general direction. We follow our compass until it stops working, and then we follow the lights from there. And I think we'll be successful. It's not a kind of thing where we need to spend $1 million on equipment. We could be there and back in 2-3 days. We go there. We only need to get close enough to get zooms and photos and shots of whatever. There's a party going on there. So just get photos of the party, come back, and then, okay, here's what's here. Now we'll see. Now we have a jigsaw puzzle. We're missing the center and we're missing the edge. We have this donut in the middle where the sun trails and where we've mapped. Allegedly, without a big continent in the Pacific Ocean, it's probably there that we don't know about. But besides that, we get the center of the puzzle. I think we then can complete the edge of the puzzle based on logic and reason. Once we know the structure we're in, once we have a better understanding of it. But right now we're speculating in the dark until we have, the data that we're missing. And it's fun to speculate, but we can get lost in it too, and a lot of us do. And Antarctica to me is a wild goose chase, dead end right now. And it's what Admiral Byrd was pushing. Wow, it's getting very crowded at the North Pole right now. So don't go there. Go to Antarctica. There's lots of resources in Antarctica, which there might be. For all I don't know, but it's about the North Pole was getting crowded. What? They're building condos and malls? Like, who's at the North Pole?
There's no photography or video from the real North Pole, magnetic pole anyway. Where's the crowds? Where's the footage? Like something's going on there. And I'm very curious and I want to make my way there. As soon as I hear about an expedition, I'm joining it. And I'm going to make my way there eventually, see what's there. Now, if it's very profound and kind of like, like, like if it's the kind of thing, like if we put this out to the public, they're going to riot and they're going to storm the North Pole. Well, then we need to do a controlled release, maybe. I don't know, but we have to be delicate. We have to be mature about this because there's wisdom going on here that we don't understand yet. So, we need to think twice before doing a lot of things. We need to look at it from a bigger point of view, too. A lot of us are gung-ho or whatever, but I think that if I were to find, say, 15-foot, 20-foot giants at the center and UFOs and orbs, I don't know how I would release that publicly because that's such a shocker, like people are going to rush there and it's going to just create havoc. How do we do it right? It's just we need to sit down with like a council and discuss this. Like, there's a lot of aspects to this we haven't really considered yet. Like think down the road. This is a big thing we're doing here. We're going to rediscover something that they want on lockdown. And they want it on lockdown for a reason. We don't know that reason. We're only speculating. We're only speculating that they're nefarious and we're always painting them as villains. But for all we know, maybe they're protecting us. I don't know. But I'm going to leave that possibility open. And I'm not villainizing them all on hiding that for malevolent reasons quite yet until I know for certain.
Right, before we round out this show, I'm going to ask you one final question, which is, what is Jibiru?
It's legend. It's legend, and maybe they weren't very accurate with their interpretation of what Nibiru was. Maybe not. Maybe they were. Jibiru. It's legend. There is an oracle out there said to. There's lots of legends involved with it, and I guess the Jibiru who showed up at Issa's that day. I guess you could call that a channeling. So every so often, when space, I think it's when space doesn't turn black and we have a perpetual twilight, Jibiru can then come because now we have another light source up there that's doing something that we don't know about. Is this Jibiru? That's what the legend says. It's Jibiru. So we're waiting for Jibiru to make its appearance next year, and hopefully. The ISS may be tied to this. There's going to be some reveals next year. We're all working on it, but right now, Jibiru, it's legend, it's myth, but it's myth and legend with some science. You know what I'm saying? It's a mystery. It's mystical.
Well, what can I say? Fingers crossed. With that, I'm going to say
Jibiru
a massive thank you, Jibby, for being on Flat Earth United. You've been a real sport. Thank you very much for being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
And also a massive thank you to all of you who have joined us in the live audience. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley. I will see you all in the next video. Still on, but not on the main show bit. That went well.
Right, backstage.
That went well.
Hey,
really
I
well.
want to thank you for having Paula, Bad Christian Knowledge Scavenger, for having her on. I dragged her out of the forums because when I learned of her expertise and knowledge, I'm like, you gotta get up to YouTube. You need a bigger audience for your 40 plus years of expertise and knowledge. Like, I don't even believe or sign on to what she subscribes to, but I appreciate her wealth of knowledge. So I dragged her up. I'm like, you got to get your own channel and get this thing going out there. And she has, and I'm really glad like you gave her a platform. That was really cool of you. Like, she doesn't get that attention that she deserves, I think.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking because she does such good work, and then you'll see her do a live stream and she'll have half a dozen people in there, and you think that's heartbreaking because you've really put the graft in. So knowledge scavenger, or Paula. Her channel's now called, I think it's Bad Christian. God, I hope I've got that right.
Christian. Yeah, she gets demonized by the other Christians. Sometimes she's like, you know what? I'm just a bad Christian, I guess. So.
Well, she hangs around with us heathens, doesn't she? So
yeah. I like Paula. I'm not a part of that whole. I don't know what you want to call it, like the Christianity. Though I try to live like a Christian, but I don't take on the title, and I don't subscribe to the Bible as truth. But I respect it as a great reference in flat Earth, and I don't kick it off the table. I think Christianity, as long as many other religions, deserve a seat at the table. We all deserve a seat at the table until we know for sure, like what's what. Don't just shut anybody out because they could have vital information, in my opinion.
Well, phrasing it like that's quite cool, because when you say not taking it off the table, when you've got anything evidence-based, so if you're in a court case, well, if something gets disproven, you don't take it out of evidence. It still remains on the books. It remains in the bundle, as they phrase it. So the same would apply to heliocentrism. You can still have some of the lessons that I've learned about astronomy from that model. You don't chuck the baby out with the bathwater. In other words, most people in flat Earth have learned a huge amount of information which has been studied and revised and carefully scrutinized for good reason, which we've discussed on the show. But that information, you don't just discard it. Most people are now better versed in it, if anything. Most flat earthers have got a good grasp of what the heliocentric model is. And I know the trolls would argue, no, you haven't, you don't understand it at all. And it's like, I disagree. We all have a better grasp of it. You and I are similar in the respect that we were both interested in space and stars and, before coming to flat Earth. A lot of people who are in this arena weren't interested in it before, and dare I say it, probably still aren't interested in it now. They, all they're going to do is tip their head when it's dark, but the chances are a lot of them probably still don't, which is a shame.
I learned a little bit more about the Helio model. I thought I knew it all, and in this little back and forth with the Globe crew, they polished me up even more on the Helio model, and in ways that made it even worse, for their side of the argument. But we all have things left to learn. We're all going to be eternal students until we're not anymore. So let's stay humble, keep your mind open, keep the doors open, and prepare for more paradigm shifts, prepare for more like shockers, because they're coming. Because the Earth's flat, huge shocker. Okay, well, I think the ones to come are going to be bigger, obviously, because now who else is here? Who made it? What is it? What's its shape? What's going, like, these are all going to be huge. That's going to make flat Earth seem like nothing, because flat Earth is basically just establishing your basic shape.
You think they'll have those sorts of explorations then? You think it is a great time of discovery? Because there's still a potential that this could all be suppressed.
Well, they've already did their. I think they're taking all that money and they are doing exploring. And I guess if it's the way we think it is, with the center being what it is and the exploration to take place outside Antarctica, then they've definitely hit it. And they have maps already that I'm sure they're making and compiling, of course, that are classified. So we can either grab their info that they've already accumulated, or we go through all their footsteps ourselves, which will take us so much longer without that funding that they have. And do we do it that way? Like, they're going to see us going out there. Will they stop us? Like, leaving them alone to keep doing what they're doing, well, they're going to stop us from learning what they learn. Like, they maintain their power and control because of their leverage, and their leverage is hoarded information. They're not going to let us take that leverage away from them. At least they're not going to go quietly.
But
so we
got to be prepared the same as you described. I mean, with this, you described this as like the lone sheep that's not looking at his iPhone. Well, if there's a small handful of people, I mean, we're still relatively small. I mean, it's great to say that we're growing in numbers and we can see the momentum building, but we're still tiny. And if that tiny group did go out and find out, let's call it the truth, about what and where and who and why, would it really matter? The sheep would still carry on in their herd, wouldn't they? Why would they want to stop us? I mean, the reason I say that is because I think that the realms of possibility in terms of what they tell us it's all locked down. But is it? You know, I think that's just an illusion. I think if you just actually...
a bluff.
Yeah, I think it's a bluff. I mean, because of the vast scale of it. I mean, forget going to the outer edges for a second. We're funneled into shipping lanes, you know, in terms of the way we travel and the way trade is done. There's hard and fast, even in the skies. You know, there's like motorways in the skies. Motorways, you know what I mean? Skyways. And therefore, they've locked down even the area that we do know about. You know, you talked about the vast expanses of ocean. Well, what's in them? For all we know, there could be a whole series of continents just in the area that we know, but we're being kept away from it by virtue of the direction of travel they say we should. You know, all the commercial traffic will go in, and therefore, what do we get to see of it? You know, what's out the window is what they allow us to see out the window by virtue of the travelling direction that they've perpetrated potentially more deceptions. So I don't think we need to concern ourselves with whether or not they'd stop us. It's just a matter of actually doing it.
Well, that's it now, is it? But, you know, they could have an electronic fence too, where if we cross a certain infrared fence, that's when the ships and the military come to meet you. Like, they don't physically have guarded subs and ships, but they could theoretically have a buoy system net of infrared, and if you cross it, they'll put a man on the monitor to see what it is, and if they need to deploy, that's a possibility. Of course,
sure,
we go under it. You know, if
it's opening a can of worms. If that was the case, you're saying that, okay, let's conceptualize this. So you and I now decide that we're going to go to, let's say, the North Pole, right? We're just going to go, and we start to arrange our trip. We set sail, we start to head in the right direction, and then you and I vanish off the face of the earth. Yeah? There's a good chance that there's enough people in our small group, heaven forbid I don't want this to happen, I don't want to die, but that would go, well, they didn't make it, and, you know, we knew which direction they were going, and suddenly they've been stopped. Because in your scenario, we've tripped a theoretical wire, and the military have come and literally just taken us out. Well, that's not to say that there's not going to be another person, and then another person, and then another person that just does exactly the same thing. And, you know, they can't just continually maim and kill anybody. Maybe they can, I don't know. It's hard to say, I can't envisage.
Or they turn us away because of the treaties, Antarctic and Arctic both. And they just cite that, and they don't kill us, and we just get turned around like we can't go there. And well, now we've been told by military, by force, we can't go to those areas. Now what do we do? At that point, now we have to sneak or have an assault force just to have the freedom to explore. I mean, these are things that we might have to face. Maybe it'll be a clear shot. Maybe it's just a bluff, and they're not guarding, and we can head up north of Greenland, and airship or whatever kind of route to get there the quickest and back, airplane, I don't know, small private plane, maybe a beach cruiser, I don't know, and just try to get there and back. I worry about electronics failure on any kind of an aircraft. Getting too close next to a magnetic field that strong could impact the equipment and crash land, so I don't want to risk that. But maybe more of an airship, like a mini Hindenburg or something steerable, and not so much electronics dependent. So if the electronics fail, it's just a nice soft landing, and we go on foot from there, something like that. I've been just trying to brainstorm because I don't like the stagnation that we're at. We need, okay, we've established this, we've established that. We've established, the closest, most affordable target being the North Pole. So it's just a matter of organizing at this point, and maybe getting funding or do a GoFundMe, or I don't know. But if there's anybody out there who has the means and the funds, I volunteer.
Like I'll go with a group of 5, 10. I want at least 3 or 4, in case somebody gets a broken leg or something. You definitely want to do the buddy system here.
Yeah, but I think these
But
things will
I'm
happen.
ready
I
to
mean,
go.
you talk about people that are in the education system that were open-minded to these ideas. Well, there's going to be enough rebellious rich people that have got, their yacht, or I don't know. Just imagine people with huge sums of money that go, well, why not? What else have I got to do? If they've got dozens of companies and they've fulfilled all of their heart's desires, what do you do next? Well, you come across something like Flat Earth and go, hang on, so you're telling me that I haven't done everything? There could be far more to find out about, and that's going to appeal to a lot of people. It's I think the days of Ranulph Fiennes being the only one going to places like the South Pole, I think those days are over. I really do.
Yep. And if there's a wealthy individual out there who wants to travel to the North Pole vicariously through me, I'm here.
Your services
you,
are
your
available.
eyes can be my camera the whole way. Whatever if they can afford a live feed, even better. I'll go next week. If somebody's like, hey, I got $10 million, here you go, get out there. I'm on it.
On the other hand, if they're hiding a continent near Hawaii, I'm all in. If you're a guy looking for that continent.
Yeah, the Pacific Ocean, that big vast ocean. It's like playing the game Battleship, where you're looking for their one ship that they still have left, and you got this big open area on your board that you haven't even tried yet, and then you give it a shot. All right, I don't know, J8 hit, boom. Like I think that's what we're going to do in the Pacific Ocean. This area hit land, hit this area land. To me, knowing their kind of bourgeois mentality, I would say they have their own continent, at least country-sized continent, that is for the elite, that they don't want us soiling. That at the bare minimum, I think is there. And they could film a lot of this Mars stuff and whatever they want there. We can't have access to. We don't have access to anything military anyway, so they could be doing it in Arizona for all we know. We can't go onto their property. But yeah, that's just one aspect of the discovery of those things. Like, let's just keep moving in that direction. We'll find more land. But there's something our compasses are pointing to. And if you read the books or whatever, or listen to Flatwater, that if you have fillings in your teeth or implants, screws, you're not going to be able to come to this thing, because once you get close, it's going to hurt. Those things hurt when you get close to that magnetic field that strong. So no Darth Vaders allowed, no artificial implants, robots, metals. It's not going to work. And preferably get the iron out of your system too. Go to a copper-based diet. I think that's essential, because they are putting artificial iron in our cereals and whatnot. You can take a neodymium magnet and drag your cornflakes. So why are they doing that? They're making us more magnetic or magnetically receptive through iron. And I think we need to go to a copper-based diet. It's another thing I agree with Quasi-Luminous on. Like, he's the kind of guy, when he gets a lot of strikes, but when he hits the ball, it's a grand slam. And that's one of them, I think, from him, is the copper-based diet plan. Cook on copper, eat copper-based foods. Prepare for such a trip like that, because you can be heading to a very strong magnetic mountain, whatever. It's strong enough you feel it all the way in Australia or whatever, when your compass is pointing to it. This is a strong field. We're going to be riding up upon it. And anything you have, any surgeries or screws, it's going to cause extreme pain. Even fillings, like pull the teeth out that have the fillings in it or whatever. Just that would be the smart way to do it. Because there were reports of the people on the ships like complaining of toothaches and headaches and migraines, and as they got closer, pulling the nails out of the boats, literally just pulling the nail out of the boat, because it's that strong of a magnetic field. So we're dealing with dangerous stuff, and anything that we're bringing backpack wise, you don't want it to be magnetic.
You'll just go flying in the air, and now the next thing you know, you'll be a skeleton with a backpack stuck to a magnetic mountain or something forever. Like, so who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many possibilities, but it's recon. We need recon first. You know, just like the military would do. They'll send in their drones and their recon so they can get a visualization to get a better idea. Otherwise, we're going in the dark here, old school pioneer style, which is dangerous. I prefer the technology aspect. Send a drone, send it back, go a little further, send a drone, send it back, look at the video, go a little further. That's the smart way to do it. These things cost money.
And time.
Yeah, I'm willing to give the time. This is the most important thing, I think, to all of us. I'm willing to do it. It's the least I can do, really. Of all the useless things I've done in this life, that's at least something I can do to make all of this worthwhile for me in my own journey and whatnot. And if I can help, I'll help. I'll throw myself on a grenade for the greater good of all, whatever it takes. This is a war. This is a war of information. Like Alex Jones and everything. It's a war for our minds.
But by being out there, by having the debates, by keeping the subject alive and just talking about it rather than slipping into the sidelines, which inevitably a lot of people do get flat earth burnout and slip into the sidelines. But the subject is still interesting. There wouldn't be the Gem Pandas and the Mark Taylors and the detractors. They're bigger fans of the flat earth shows than I am in some respects. It's quite amazing.
Yeah.
So those are the people that are keeping the ball rolling, and they're going to attract the attention of the people we describe. We haven't got infinite funds, but there's going to be a guy out there, hopefully he comes across my video and goes, oh my God, could it be? Maybe we should find out. And that's all it takes, that individual. But if the people aren't talking about it, if we aren't having these conversations and pumping out videos, then it's not going to attract attention. It's not going to spark somebody's interest because people won't come across it. So as small as it and insignificant it may seem when you're considering making a flat Earth video, make it. Why not? Just talk about your experience, your revelation, because there's a good chance it'll spark someone's interest. And it's taken Jibby, it's taken you till the last couple of months to come clean with your family. For me, it was shouted from the rooftops immediately because I think it's nothing but positive. I think it will make a positive difference to people who are at least willing to look into the subject. And for those who are complete, blue pillars or whatever you want to call them, they're at least involved. They're at least around the campfire, your Gem Pandas and your Mark Taylors.
We need some of them, not all of them. Some of them are actually pretty good troll kind of info polishers, and some are just doing it for the art of trolling. And I call them black holes because you're gonna just throw your watch into it because it's better way to spend your time. They're just gonna drink your time, sending you around circles. Nothing you say they're not gonna change their point of view. So you're doing it for exercise at that point. You're not going to get anywhere with them. And there are some who will polish up your evidence pretty good. And then, oh, thank you. Now I'm that much tighter on it. So some of those are good. A lot of them, you gotta have discernment. You have to know who, one of them with the initials TO. He is a black hole. Just your time will be wasted. Just talking to him and dealing with him and giving him a platform, and he's not even if you got to him and he knew you were right, never going to say it, and he's still going to continue on his path doing the same thing. So and for one, what will that accomplish anyway? I don't know why people are trying so hard to win over the trolls who have been basically our fan club for the past 2-3 years. Why so hard to win them over? Like they're not our target audience that we want. They're not the ones who are going to commit the change that we need. They're not going to push us forward. It's just another soldier. That's fine. But would you devote 2 years working on one person? Why are we doing that? It's kind of a waste. If they didn't get it in the first couple tries, whatever, move on. It's time to move on and stop giving them our time of day that we could be using more constructively. in my opinion. Some I give time to, some I will not.
Yeah, like you say, there are people like Charles that will have a cordial conversation, and for the onlooker, that's beneficial, and for you and I, and there's a good chance Charles knows things that you don't in terms of heliocentric understanding. And
Yep.
I like that. I like finding new things out about the heliocentric model. It is still interesting to me. Yeah, I appreciate that it's nonsense, but it's still interesting.
Yeah, I think I started the ball rolling with these debates with Charles on my channel.
For sure.
Because
yeah, definitely.
I think it was me that started it, and then everyone else started doing the debates, and I thought that was awesome. They also recognize that he is a good, back and forth opponent for this, who is very articulate and intelligent. Paper facts intelligent, I should say. And because I wanted, just the memorization aspect of intelligence versus the critical thinking aspect and the street smarts. To me, those are two different types of intelligence. And I have rich in street smarts in that area, and con men and things like that. And when I'm being lied to, paper facts, I'm not too bad, but they're better than me. Obviously, there's always somebody better, but. And I learned from that, those paper facts that I didn't know. Charles will rush me up on him. Oh, thank you. He's actually helped me debunk some space stuff by check this out. Thank you. Now I've found a new piece of damaging evidence.
Yes, it's usually the way.
Yeah. He's a good sport too. Because a couple times I had him on a panel where we're just sitting by the fire. I'm like, Charles, no ball, no flat tonight. Let's just hang out as men, as warriors in this. Let's have a good time. And he can let loose and be fun and not so serious. So he's got range, and I like him.
Cool.
He's okay with me.
All right, it's coming up on, or just gone 1 o'clock in the morning, so I'm probably gonna end the OBS stream behind the scenes. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed. I hope people are enjoying this format. I don't know if was it stressful to join as it was already live?
Nope. Good. It was good. I liked it. I hope you guys liked it out there. And I have ADHD TV brain, so I jump a lot. I'm on this, I'm on that, and then I go off-roading a lot. So I hope that I wasn't too off topic and off-roading, but
no, it's awesome.
This a long time.
You gave me exactly what I hoped for, which was an hour and a half solid of pure flat Earth. There's not going to be a soul out there that could say, you didn't talk in a flat Earth in that show. It's like, yeah, I think that was pretty much 100% flat Earth.
Yeah, I liked it. It's good. Cool. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. I know you asked me a couple times, and just we all get distracted and sidetracked. Patricia has asked me. I want to bring substance, to you guys' shows. Like, I want to have some new primary information. I want to be able to check out what I got on the P900 or something like that. Like versus making it about the human drama. I kind of want to also add information that his a big exclusive, that kind of thing. So I'll call Patricia when I have a good exclusive, and then her show again, and that kind of thing. Like that. That's how we do it. And it's awesome that you guys have your channels to bring these people all together. It's awesome the way we're all doing this. I think we're doing this very organic, and I like the way it's being done. And we're all informing each other, and we're all sharing our puzzle pieces, and this is how we solve the puzzle.
Well, I can only make my apologies because you've been around based on what you've told me on tonight, but you precede me by a good couple of months in terms of when you found out. So you've been around longer than I have.
End of February 2015, I began this. Yeah, Mark's clues were out there for like a week or two when I came across them. They only had like less than 1,000 views on them.
No, that's more like 7 months. Yeah, so yeah, you're like nearly 3 years into this then.
You mentioned Matt Powerland too. Like, I got to give him credit too for the one line that he said that really caught me, which was photo or painting. And it's like, oh my God, 35 years of artist rendition, all those pictures that I saw in NASA books and everything just came rushing back to me when I heard Matt say that. And I'm like, son of a bitch. they none of them were photos, like photographs. Like it just like Mark didn't give me that revelation. That was Matt, and Matt really brought that. It was like the end of the Saw movie, kind of like flashback moment of 35 years, just all come rushing back to me. And I said, "Oh my God!"
I remember him saying
true.
that, and the weird thing about it, when exactly the same, you know, Math Powerland talking photo or painting. What went through my mind was a similar story that I subsequently heard from Mark. Not that I'm going to claim he was stealing my ideas or anything, but far from. But I did the same thing Mark did, which was I was trying to find a globe, you know, for my desktop. I actually wanted weather. You know, this is a long time ago, but you know, how naive was I to believe that I could get weather patterns from high up, and then it descended into, well, let's just get a nice picture of Earth. And again, you know, the cognitive dissonance, the programming is so cool. I find this aspect of the heliocentric lie so cool. The fact that I could go through endless pictures that were all the same and not realise, and so many people have done it, Mark Sargent included. You know, and eventually you just give up and go for the blue marble like everyone else, and you know, you stick that on your desktop, and that's good enough for me, sort of thing. And then it's only in the aftermath when you hear someone like Math Powerland saying, is this picture of Earth a photo or is it a painting? And you go, oh yeah, I did that search and found no pictures of Earth from space. Why not? You know, and then, you know, as you go through, you have the ranty, I'm sure it was Learn of the Jesuit Order, you know, screaming, there are no pictures of Earth from space. Very cool.
I know. And then, wow, it's just such a, for me, it was so devastating to let go of NASA. It really was. It hurt because I was a fanboy. And, you know, when you're a fanboy all your life, it's like losing a family member. It's
yeah, totally agree. I was a massive NASA fanboy. I used to love it. I used to go to every night. One of the last things I would do was watch the latest video on science at NASA. You know, that would be my, and every time it was this empty, hollow feeling. When are they going to show us something better? But I didn't think, oh, it's because they're lying to us and it's all fake. You know, now I do.
So frustrating too. It's like, oh, still nothing. Oh, we're still here. We're still kicking cans down the road. We're still just, we're where we were 10 years ago. We're where we were 20
water,
years ago. I don't know more.
Finding water on Mars, treading water, achieving nothing. That's what NASA is all about, constant recycling.
Yep. When they would say, we found liquid on this moon, I would just say, let me guess, liquid methane. Because that's all it ever was. It was never water. Like, they want you to think it's water, so you'll tune in on the press conference. It's liquid methane. It was always liquid methane.
That's all it ever was. It just
you start to know the narrative after a while. You know what they're going to say at the press conferences. It's like it's just the same thing.
Found liquid farts on another planet.
Yep.
That's just laughing at us, basically, aren't they? Having a good giggle. Someone somewhere.
I know, huh?
Right, I'm going to leave you to it, Jibby. It's been a pleasure. We'll round out the OBS stream here and say another thank you for being on Flat Earth United. It's been really good having a proper chat with you. Should have been done 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, maybe we can do some more in the future.
For certain.
Anytime you want.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get you on one of the group shows next time I have one. I'll send you out an invite. Now I've got you on G Plus and such. And I'm going to say one last final thank you to our OBS stream audience who've got to see all of the shaky mouse movements and camera positionings on the OBS stream. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and indeed hit that bell notification icon. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.
Bye all.